matter, right? The motions for a personnel matter for executive.
Yeah, it's on the agenda.
Wait a minute, hang on a second. Gentlemen, are we live? Thank you.
I'd like to call to order the meeting for the Board of Education, December 5th, 2024. Now 7:04. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to make a motion, move into executive session, discuss my personnel matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 5 in favor, motion carried.
All right, great, thank you. That's the name, good?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, I never use it myself. I'd like to reconvene the regular business meeting for the Board of Ed today, time now 7:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Stephen.
So we have some very special guests that are here with us tonight. I'd like to welcome everyone on this cold night that came out. And there's been an amazing addition that's happened here right in our own high school that we're actually in tonight. And we have some amazing students that are with us as well tonight and their teachers. And I'd like to thank everyone for being here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Murphy, our Director of Special Education. And she is going to introduce everyone. And we're going to talk a little bit about it. So if you didn't know this, we opened up a new business here.
We opened up a new business. I think we have a video, correct?
Yes, we
have
do.
the video?
Yes,
Okay,
we do.
so,
Yes, we do.
The video actually says a lot about our very new and exciting endeavor up at the high school called Red Devil Roast. We actually got our name from having a very nice survey sent out to the entire high school. They got to pick what the name of our new coffee shop was at the high school. We've been open for approximately 6 weeks now. And I have to say it has been a really amazing success. We are incredibly grateful to the Board of Education, Central Office, but it's also been a really, really big team effort from Eddie Ross, our person who works in our cafeteria. He's the person that helped us find a space, buildings and grounds, helped clean out the entire space. They painted it for us. And it's really become a collaboration of a lot of groups at the high school. So we have some people here that we are very excited to introduce, and they're going to personally thank these people, but we've had members of our art club that have painted a mural inside of our coffee shop, so it really is starting to get that coffee shop feel. Members of the computer science class, our freshmen, developed all of our logos and our advertising and all of those things. And then we also were the front page of the Devil's Tale, so we had one of the reporters came and put together an article for us. And the students were really super excited about having themselves be on the cover of the Devil's Tale. So do you want to do the video first, or do you want?
I think we should start off with the video.
Yeah.
'Cause I think I'll say a lot. We're going to dim the lights a little bit too. So gentlemen, if you could help us with that, please. Thank you.
Welcome to Red Devil Roast. We'll get it to order.
Hi, I'm Amy Bernard, the speech therapist at Plainage High School. We are happy to announce the grand opening of the Red Devil Roast. This is more than just a coffee store. It's a special project that has been designed to give our students hands-on experience in a real-world setting. Our students have been involved in every step of this development, from taking inventory and shopping for supplies. The Red Devil Roast store is all about providing a safe, supportive environment where our students can develop a wide range of essential skills that will help them thrive both now and in the future. Our students have the chance to rotate through various job roles, including greeter, server, barista, cashier, stocker, custodian, as well as delivery greeter, delivery cashier, and delivery server. Through this project, our students are gaining experience in social development, motor skills, executive functioning, language, math, skills that are crucial for success in both work and everyday life. Thank you to our students from Mr. Santamaria's computer science class for designing the Red Devil Roast logo, punch cards, and advertisements. Thank you also to Ms. Basic's art club students for creating and painting the mural in the coffee The
shop.
Red Devil Roast is open to all teachers and staff. So please calm down and grab a cup of coffee.
That was created, we had the logo that two of my freshman students designed. We also had a punch card that was made, and then a couple of different flyers, such as for the grand opening, and just a couple of other different flyers that are going to be used throughout the building sporadically, that the staff here at Plainage High School could see and remind themselves of purchasing stuff for Red Devil Roast when they are open weekly.
For the red part of the logo that says Red Devil Roast in the circle, I got that idea from Starbucks because they have their circle and then the little mermaid or siren.
For the cup for the double horns, I just took a classic coffee cup and I decided, you know, since we're the Red Devils, we're gonna make it look like a red devil.
I would like to invite Ms. Amy Bernard, our speech therapist, who has been very integral in making this a success, and Julie Tarturo, our behavior consultant, who's also been working very hard to come up with our students. Talking to the microphone, can I see your name? No? Yes? Can I see, what's your name?
Hi, Emma Volpe.
Emma Volpe.
AJ Magnoni.
Come on over, Adam, can I say your name? She doesn't want to. It's okay.
Adam Josephsburg.
And this is our other Emma, who's being a little shy, but she's gonna be very, very.
She's my
very-
best friend.
She's your best friend. You're gonna be very busy giving out hot chocolate gift cards. Yes, so we have a little surprise for the people that have helped us be so successful. We wanted to help our students, even though they're not allowed to have coffee, but they are allowed to have hot chocolate. And I have to say, they make fantastic hot chocolate on Friday mornings. So we wanted to thank. We have from the computer science class with Mr. Santa Maria, we have Ava Peterson, Samantha Pagode, Ashley Chen, Kaylee Johnson, Avi Boucher, Juliana Bonwall, Kalana Burgos, Gabby Acatano, and Connor Lohan. So we Very good.
Thank you.
We get everybody? And then from the art club, we have Sunny Snyder, Jasmine Yam, and Joelle Dioka. And we also have from the newspaper Sabrina Johnson, who wrote it. That, I think, is everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you. A picture? Yeah.
Can we get a picture with everybody? Is that okay? If guest members, please step over in this direction here, please. Thank you. Everybody, President, Vice President, teachers, please. Any support?
Oh, look, you met.
You know what?
How are
Yeah,
you?
you gotta come out. This is not.
You're gonna get tighter?
Right on your face. Can everybody go this way?
Where are we
Yeah,
going?
we go, can we go on
Here.
Go this way.
Good. Not working out? Right.
No.
That's okay.
I got my heels on.
Still at the beginning.
Everybody, we gotta get tight.
Really close.
More, how are you?
Hey, obviously, parents or anyone would like to take pictures, please come right up to the front of the room.
Yeah.
Come right up front, please. Are we in good shape?
I was waiting for the other board members.
What's that?
The other board members.
Oh, okay, other board members, please step in as well.
Okay. Now we're ready. Thank you.
Please stay there for a second, everyone. We just take a couple more pictures. Please take your time, take as many pictures as you like.
Want to get in, Jeff? I was busy taking
Yeah,
pictures.
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
It's for one of your friends?
Actually,
One of your today?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, great, that's nice. Thank you so much for doing that for us. Thank you. Tomorrow, bud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Up next, we have some special guests that are here with us tonight. We have Ms. Ann Doxey from the Plain Edge Library, who would requested to attend our meeting, and obviously, and Lord Norton Bell is here as well. I see her. Thank you very much for your board. Is there anybody else that I missed tonight that's with you? Please do. Yes. Hello, Mr. Pierce. How are you?
Director Susan Santa.
Why don't you come up to the microphone? You can all come on up if you want. You can sit in the front. Or you're fine where you are, whatever you are. You're gonna be the guest speaker at this moment. So please, thank you for joining us tonight.
No, two of our trustees couldn't make it. It's Rick Fiumara and Tara Schneider.
Okay, no worries at
That's
all.
our board.
Thank you.
Okay, here we go. So again, my name is Ann Doxey. I'm the president of the Plain Edge Board of Trustees Library. Thank you for inviting the Plain Edge trustees to your monthly meeting. I already introduced them, so I'll skip that. After much discussion and continued planning for the future of the library, our board has chosen to put forth a bond resolution to support the construction of a new library building for the Plain Edge community. In recent years, it has become increasingly clear that our current library, which dates back to 1968, no longer meets the needs of the patrons. While we have remained steadfast in our efforts to keep up with the evolution of what libraries have become today, we have continued to struggle with mounting challenges in the form of structural issues, operational concerns, and more. Our plan for a bond will not only address the structural challenges we face, such as spaces not meeting current codes and leaks that impact the structural integrity, but would also allow our library to become a sustainable, energy-efficient building, primed to host community programs, child-centered activities, and services for many generations to come. We came here, we wanted to share our plans with you tonight to open the channels of communication and be as transparent as possible about our work. Before coming to the table tonight, please know that we have listened to the community feedback we received since our last attempt at a new building project. Since then, we have reduced the scope of the project, significantly reduced the cost, and redesigned the building to meet the aesthetic look of our setting in the community. Our goal has been, and continues to be, to make this new space a hub of learning, excitement, and growth for our Plain Edge community. Looking at the calendar, we're aiming to schedule a community vote on the project at the end of March 2025 to be held at the current library. To support that effort, the library board is asking the school district to pass a bond resolution at the appropriate time. This is a legal requirement that is needed for the vote to take place. In addition, the library board is seeking your approval to gain access to the district's bond council so that we can gather the necessary financial information to share with the community and effectively communicate the potential tax implications of a new bond. As two entities that share a passion for educating others and providing enriching learning experience for all ages. We thank you in advance for your anticipated cooperation, and we look forward to your assistance throughout this new endeavor. Thank you again for inviting us to your meeting.
Okay. So if I could just, so the request is for the board to consider holding a separate vote, not inside of the regular budget vote, which is how we did it last time. The board, obviously the board is, no?
No, we had it in January.
I'm sorry?
The last on vote?
No. When would you be asking, when did you have the last vote? Why don't you explain that to me?
January, I believe, 22.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that was held at the?
At the library.
Do you want to comment on
George, yes.
Yeah, well, there were fees associated with that vote. We had the largest part of that was probably the advertising.
Okay.
That-
The advertising will probably go, I would say, between $17,000 and $20,000.
Well, we did it last time, right?
Yeah, there's two new publishers now for the Massapequa Post and Nassau Observer. It's called now, and I know they've raised their prices. And, you know, it's the 4 weeks, and it's got to be done in English and in Spanish. So it's probably, I'd say, between $17,000 and $20,000.
Okay. It has to be.
The other cost for.
Well, yeah, so we'll have to actually do a cost analysis and bring it back to the board for the board's consideration. The board, I would not obviously, first of all, we love the library, so let's start there. Obviously, you've been supporting us from day one, but we're gonna need to do a cost analysis and to better understand. So if you could get us the notes from what the request is specifically, and then we'll work it up, and I'll get that information to the board for further consideration.
Okay, well, Susan, has all the, we could.
Yes, you can say, yes, send it over. That would be great.
Yeah, you
Right
have,
to Maureen will take it.
yeah, do you have my email?
Yes.
Yes.
Does that work?
We'd like, whatever works, but,
Yes,
as
well-
far as the bond council, how would that work? Because we need to get.
Let us work it up so we get all the details together. I gotta talk to Peter about
Yes,
this
that's
and
fine.
Maureen both. We'll work it up rather expeditiously and we'll get it out. And we'll get back to you on that. And then the board, next meeting, the board will have an opportunity is probably in January to look at this. So we'll get that information worked up and I'd ask for the help, obviously, of my colleagues.
Okay,
All right?
thank you very much.
And I want to wish you guys, obviously, happy holidays. Thank you for coming out on this cold night. And thank you for your service always.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to stay.
Thanks for coming out, Ms. Baxter. Appreciate you coming out, and I definitely support the library and look forward to hearing what the cost implications are next
Absolutely.
month, all right? And then we have a vote do we have to vote before?
No.
There's
There's no vote required.
no vote by us?
Nope.
All right.
Well, you don't have the information to consider first of all,
Okay.
so. But I'll work that up with you and we'll speak with legal counsel about that and see how it works.
Okay,
Okay?
great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming tonight, everyone. Moving on to the, is there any other comments from the board at this time? Okay, thank you. Moving on next, we're going to talk a little bit about, we have a process that we've used historically for the budget season. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that process and get that out to everybody. We have some people that are new in this process, so I want to kind of explain how the process works and how it has worked before. And basically talk a little bit about some highlights and such, which I'd like to share. So there's a document that's coming out. So there are drivers of the budget, and the drivers are the things that basically, remember, if you're not familiar, the budget is comprised of probably about 70 to 77%, which is basically staffing and benefits. And the rest of it is basically used to run and operate the schools, whether it be fuels or any of these other things that we need. So we look at the major budget drivers inside of the budget itself. We also, use a process which starts in late October. We involve obviously the people that are the budget. When the budget is broken out, it's broken out by the administrator in charge of those areas. And then they basically are charged with in the next week, they've already submitted their additions. Mr. Perazzo's office, in collaboration with his department, he will prepare the budget. I will work on the budget through December over the recess. And then I will present the initial budget draft which is the budget that I'm recommending in order to run the schools and add any additions that I'm looking to, that I think are required after speaking meeting. There'll be ongoing meetings with all administrators. There are staffing meetings. We look at areas where we can realize fiscal efficiencies, but we also want to be sure that we're adding in the things that we think are going to be great for the Plain Edge community and continue to, obviously drive people to want to live here and be part of our community. So the major budget drivers you see before you, this is not everything that's inside the budget, but this is where there is a lot of money inside it. And we talk about staffing, of course. You'll have a staffing presentation inside of there. Where are we this year? Where are we planning for next year? What do we need? And that process is ongoing. So as you can take a look, we start off with the first draft of the budget after meeting with all of the budget holders. It's an ongoing process. It happens over a 3 to 4 month period of time. It kind of lays it out for you, this schedule here. Some of the budget highlights this year that you're going to be hearing about during these budget presentations, which is something that I want to share with everyone here, is we'll be looking to add integrated co-teaching at the East Plain Elementary School. All ICT students will return back to the East Plain School. We currently have 17 students that are placed out. So we'll be working on that. We'll be developing a STREAM lab in the high school itself. So we've already been approved in order to do that renovation from the State Education Department. But in this space, students can explore and develop schools that align with real-world trades, vocational experiences, college readiness skills. Our Intel program will be able to occupy this space as well and work out of there. We're going to be building new capacity for math and science offerings at the middle school and high school. And we'll speak a little bit about that in one of our presentations tonight. There'll be the expansion of the pre-K program in the middle school. That's where we have space inside the district at this point in time, so we've already begun to have that discussion. There'll also be a budget line in there for the possibility that they would, there is a new committee that will start on the 17th of this month, which will begin the exploration involving the community and the discussion about armed security. So all this stuff has to be in my first draft budget. So we'll be working up, initial estimates. Obviously, these things can flow in and out. That's how a budget works. A budget is a guide, all right? And the guide will basically allow the board to take a look at these things and ask questions about these specific areas or any other areas that they want. Upgraded musical, we have this new music suite that's going to be opening up. I've met with the teachers and also with Mr. Menino as well as principal at the high school. And there is additional equipment that, we're ready to refresh at the high school. Now that we have the additional space and such, so I'll be proposing that as well. There is our replacement of buses that are aging, staffing that's associated with these introduction of these things. We'll also be talking about capital improvement recommendations from my office, and that started actually about 5 months ago. Some of those highlights are renovation of the John H. West playground area, because now we have this incredible playground, and now I should say we have this incredible field set up. And now the equipment there is aging equipment. So you'll see a proposal inside of that. We've already received estimates on that and working with the architect in order to kind of redesign that. That falls under capital. There's some additional equipment I'll be recommending over at the Schwarting Elementary School. For the pre-K program at the middle school, we'll be looking for a new playground and security fencing in the area where the children will be able to play. Additional fencing, power washing of buildings. That's something that, we can't do because some of them are they're 3 or 4 or 5-story buildings. So that's something we need to do. Electrical upgrades, HVAC upgrades here at the high school. The one area that was not impacted and fresh air supplies refreshed as well as inside the locker rooms here at the high school. So you'll be seeing that from me. Furniture for the pre-K program will be inside of that. HVAC upgrades for the middle school. That's got a big ticket dollar item. So we'll be looking at that. We're trying to figure out where that goes. We have a lot of blacktop and roadways and drainage that needs to be replaced. The roadway in front of the Charles E. Schwarting Elementary School is our road. So we'll have to, that has no drainage, by the way, so it floods. So you'll be seeing that inside of the budget as well. And those are the major things at top. It's early yet. Like I said before, you also see that we backed up inside of the schedule. Obviously, we're going to be, backing up the discussions about these recommendations and such. So I put that out there tonight just as I wanted to kind of let people know basically what the plan is. We have a number of new people, as I shared before, which is perfectly fine. but I wanted you to have expectations about kind of what we're doing and to talk about it. And it was a question that had come up before, and that's perfectly fine. If I want to discuss it further during tonight, that's perfectly fine. It gets under one of the items there. But I wanted to kind of get out in front of it so everybody knows kind of what the plan is at this point in time, and obviously open to suggestions ultimately in the end. So for discussion purposes, it's one of the items on the new business, so I think that you should reserve comment until that point in time, and we'll kind of go from there if that's okay. What else do I have here? Capital projects update. These for things that are going on at this point in time. High school gym, total fee classes, and our teams. Over the recess, which is coming up in 2 weeks from now. Right now, we have a temporary sound system that's been inside there. The new sound system will be installed inside there. It's not complete the project, but it won't impact what's going on inside of the gymnasium, where we're not going to be able to hold any of our interscholastic opportunities. So we'll be working around that schedule, and they'll finish up the rest of it during the year at some point or early summer. High school music suite, if you had a chance to drive by, you can see that all the exterior walls, well, the steel in order to erect the walls is near completion on all sides. You'll see a lot of the HVAC vents being installed at this point in time. They're really in a race right now to seal up because the exterior of that building is brick. So as you know, it's a little chilly out there. There are ways, and they will continue to do their work. First, in all fairness, the workers want to seal the envelope, for lack of a better term, so that they can get inside and work. So they're going to be racing in order to get this completed. So you'll see that be erected. The roof decking is done. It's welded. It's all in. The masons, they start actually on Monday or Tuesday of next week. So we're going to get large shipments now of brick. Door frames are being installed. The HVAC mechanicals. The letter of intent was submitted last week to New York State Education Department for the Schwarting bathroom upgrades in the middle school field. High school generator bid hits the street this coming Wednesday. The timelines for the bid schedule for the generator are, it goes out to bidders on 12/11, so they'll be able they'll receive that from us. The walkthroughs on 12/20. The bid openings on 1/9/25. Obviously, all of these bids actually go through our attorneys, so they actually write them. And they work with Peter's department in order to be sure that they're compliant with the law, and they include the items and the designs that we need so that we can get the lowest possible bidder, the lowest responsible bidder. I always add that word responsible because, we do have high expectations. The bid packages get sent to the attorneys after we do the bid opening here. Teresa's here, right? No, Teresa. All right, Teresa's always here. Teresa's assistant business manager for us. She'll work with Peter in order to compile everything into spreadsheets with her team. And then the bid award will be recommended for 2/4 so that we can get that out there. Remember, there's a long lead time for equipment to be ordered. So we're excited about moving that forward at this point in time. And that completes capital projects that are in motion at this point in time that I wanted to share with the board this evening.
Could I ask a quick question on the
Go right ahead,
process?
please.
So you put it out for bid, somebody wins it, you hope.
Yeah, usually 7-week timeline approximately for the whole process.
Right.
People can come in, they can send in questions to us, architect or the school district needs to answer it. And then they have an opportunity to become the lowest responsible bidder.
So that lowest responsible bidder, is it typical that they sign a contract directly with Plain Edge, or then do you look and see if they've already
So they
executed a contract with another district?
I
That we
don't
can-
know
Well,
what
we
you're
check
talking about.
references.
No, like I noticed like with some construction projects,
Well, some of them we take off, so some of them are
Out of
contracts, some of them are
BOCES or-
bids. So
Gotcha.
if people, if there are, you want us to talk about it? Pete?
Right, you can piggyback off of other districts' bids if you so choose to. This one's going out on the street.
so we don't have to send everything out for bid if there's already something
If
that,
there's a contract that's out there right now, a BOCES contract, or like, one of the contracts is, Babylon or South Huntington. So then you'll see before the board, we'll put up there, we want permission to use, their contract, because they already paid the money to get the contract in
and to
already.
do all the advertising.
And do all the advertising and basically working and got their, quote, the lowest responsible.
So if you
bidders.
look, so I imagine, all right, you want to put out you want a generator.
Yep,
So the first thing you do is you look and see if there's any great contracts out there that you could just piggyback onto? And if not, then you go through a full formal
Well, this is
bidding?
kind of-
Yes. Okay.
Kind of not it's very often kind of.
No, this is a little different.
Yeah.
So the more specific your needs are, the less likely there's a contract.
There's a lot of common things, like in the gymnasium down the hallway here, all the pads are on contract. So we have a contract, we basically, they come in, they give us an estimate, and the price is already defined either on the OGS site, the Office of Government Services, or through BOCES contract, or a bid that they won that was on the street before. So they're already approved to be that, and we're able to gain access to them. All of this has to be approved by the attorneys, I mean, as far as like those contracts and such, in Peter's office.
It sounds more efficient if you could jump onto somebody else's.
It can
previously,
expedite everything.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, like I said before, there are a bunch of other rules which I'm kind of minimizing right now, and Peter's
I
chomping at the
appreciate
bit.
I'm saying, like, the gym, we used a combination of the building and grounds department, Mr. Prochaska's department. Each school that's in his organization does a certain bid. Like some of those bids that we used in the gymnasium with the building, with his organization's
Right.
contracts that
Okay.
that were already sitting there. So we just used those.
Awesome, thank you.
I think I'm gonna switch it up a little bit here. One that's not on the agenda tonight, which is something that we have to talk about, is a very special person who's sitting at the table up here up front. And this will probably be her last meeting this year. Or for her career, I should say. So, I know you didn't think I was gonna let you skate, did you? All right, so we're gonna put this out there. All right, so it is Catherine Honeyman's retirement. It's an honor and a bittersweet moment to stand before you today to celebrate the career and legacy of a truly exceptional educational leader, Catherine Honeyman, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction. Catherine's journey in education began as a passionate and dedicated physical education teacher and coach. From 92 to 2004, she instilled in her students not only a love for physical fitness, but also the values of teamwork, perseverance, and discipline. Her early career laid the foundation for her later success as an administrative and curriculum leader. She quickly distinguished herself as a leader, becoming an assistant principal from 2004 to 2006, and then serving as an elementary school principal in the Miller Place School District from 2006 to 2019, 13 years. In 2019, we were fortunate to welcome her to Plain Edge Public Schools, where her influence has been transformed. Catherine has always approached her work with a meticulous attention to detail, an unwavering commitment to excellence, and an innovative mindset. As a collaborative and conscientious team member, she has tackled every challenge with intelligence, reliability, patience, and professionalism. She has worked tirelessly alongside teachers, administrators, and parents to ensure that every student has access to the best possible educational experiences here in Plain Edge. Her legacy in Plain Edge Schools is profound, played a pivotal role in developing our new high school fitness center, a state-of-the-art facility that has enhanced our physical education program, as well as provided opportunities to all of our residents. She was also instrumental in designing and launching a new high school certified fitness trainer program, providing students with unique opportunities to develop lifelong skills. Beyond these remarkable contributions, her achievements this past year alone is a testament to dedication, advancing the pre-K, to implementing the UFly Foundation's phonics program, revising the K-12 social studies curriculum, and providing professional development for teachers. Catherine has been a driving force behind many of our district's successes. Her leadership extended to initiatives like the Aaron's Law curriculum, social emotional learning programs, and our summer remedial offerings. Catherine has consistently demonstrated a forward-thinking approach, supporting critical transitions such as computer-based testing, leading meaningful programs like the Cornell Cooperative Dairy Program for third graders. By the way, I didn't get any samples this year.
Not sharing.
I know, I was bringing that up.
That goat cheese is good.
Yes, she's been a key advocate for curriculum alignment with state standards and the successful rollout of new educational programs, ensuring our district remains at the forefront of innovation and excellence. As Catherine embarks on a well-deserved retirement, we celebrate her extraordinary contributions, her tireless efforts, and her ability to inspire everyone around her. Catherine, your work has left an indelible mark on Plain Edge Schools, and your legacy will guide us well into the future. Thank you for your years of service, your passion for education, and your commitment to our students and the community of Plain Edge. I've been honored to call you my colleague, a friend, and a voice of reason many times. We wish you all the best in the exciting new chapter of life. We hope you get some time to spend with your dog, Forrest, stepson Bobby and his wife, stepson Travis, and obviously your husband Rob. We've been waiting for you to join in the retirement. Her husband retired recently. We hope you think of us freezing in the Northeast as you're basking in the Florida sun, going to concerts and playing as much golf as the two of you enjoy. You'll be able to you'll always be part of this Plainedge family, and you'll be greatly missed. And I want to thank you for your service, and I wish you best of luck.
Thank you. I can honestly say it's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to switch over, as was shared in a presentation last month. I was very fortunate that staff had nominated me to be Superintendent of the Year, and I attended the Nice Gate Conference, so I have a little snippet from that. And also I had the opportunity to be part of a presentation and a panel yesterday. So I'll share a little bit about that as well as a primary panelist and a resource for the Counting Corporation, as well as some of the number of my colleagues, superintendents, technology directors, et cetera. So, and there's a little handout that's there for you. If I could ask you gentlemen to play that video, if you would, please. As an educator, that's one of my responsibilities. I am a lifelong learner, and I will continue to learn. That's our number one job. We're here to educate students. I need to speak a little bit about it in the Cannon building, but so they are a Japanese run and organized, but they chose to specifically they're located out by Route 110. Melville, I've always seen the building before, and I never seen anybody parked at this place. So I've always been curious. So I went there, and I had to arrive early in order to prep for this to speak. And there's no cars in front of the building. This is a massive facility we're talking about here. So I wasn't sure if they were open. So I said to myself, as I walked in the front door, I said there was security there, and it's a beautiful building. Of course, it's a Gold LEED compliant building. I found out it's also their number one. They have a museum inside of it. It basically is every model of piece of equipment that Canon ever had designed, and they do a lot of different things, not just cameras, but digital imaging and such like that, which is really what they're famous for. And this was a collaborative effort that was designed in order for them to speak about change and what's happening in schools today. And the major focus is AI at this point in time. You know, everyone's scrambling to figure out, well, how does this all fit in? I mean, we have a lot of people that have a mindset that this is something that, you know, might be the equivalent of cheating, et cetera, which is the furthest from if it's taught appropriately. So as usual, everything that comes out in this day and age, whether it be a vacuum cleaner or anything else, has like AI stamped on it at this point in time, because it's all going to run the world. The reality situation is no one will ever replace teachers, and we need to use this in an appropriate fashion, and we need to teach our teachers, our students, and our community what acceptable uses are for this. But that was a major thrust and focus. At the conference that I was at, I have to tell you, 60% of the classes that I attended were AI focused about, and they were from educators, by educators that spoke about this. So I was honored to be honored by that organization. Nice Gate has over 25,000 members. And it was an honor to represent the Plainedge community, as well as my fellow superintendents, and to be recognized by our staff here and be nominated. And I got to meet some people from Microsoft and Google. Google office, the Microsoft office is based out of here. One of their home bases for education is right here in Manhattan. And they're our representatives, so they had some really good insight, and they're going to have some new compliance and new products that are coming out. And as far as the accounting goes, I know, Guy, you wanted to make a few comments about what was going on now.
Yeah, not much to say other than what Dr. Selena said, but I will tell you, congratulate him. It's quite an honor. There are over 700 school districts in the state of New York, and to be selected as Superintendent of the Year, really a testament to Dr. Selena's longstanding career and his well-known achievements in technology. Really has been at the forefront throughout his entire career in the integration of technology appropriately into instruction and its operation of the school district. He's also very well known for his security initiatives and protecting children. So it was really, I think, appropriate for NYSCATE, one of the premier technology organizations and educational organizations, to honor him this year. I was proud to see him being honored. And the conference also, as Dr. Lee said, was quite something, a lot on AI. They were very high-level conversations, really interesting. We got to meet a lot of good connections with folks both at Google and Microsoft to talk about some of the challenges, and made some great connections. We're going to work with us closely on those things, but also talk to other educators. The Canon experience was also interesting. We got to be on a panel where blended industry and educators, different school districts, universities, and corporations. So all struggling with the same thing, how to integrate AI, how to deal with cybersecurity threats, the two main focuses, and our organizations need to embrace that while also understanding how to appropriately use these technologies. So very interesting. The facility was very interesting. They have every camera from the beginning, 1930, I think, was the original camera in a showcase. So that was kind of cool to see. And quite a facility, very interesting organization to visit. So it was an interesting couple of experiences. And again, congratulations, Dr. Sleen.
Thank you very much. That concludes the superintendent's remarks at this time, and we'll move on to the agenda. I'll turn it back to the board president.
Dr. Selena. So routine approvals, I believe we have an amendment for that.
That goes on the.
Oh, that's under business,
Yes.
sorry. Routine approvals, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 12th, 2024 special session? Mr. Garcia, second. Mr. Marcy, all in favor? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 14th, 2024 Board of Education meeting? Mrs. Versace, second.
Second?
Mr. Pascarello, all in favor? Item 3, approval of the minutes of the November 19th, 2024 special meeting. Mr. Marcy, second. Mr. Garcia, all in favor? Motion to approve the warrant reports 46 and 48 to 49. Mr. Garcia, second. Mr. Marcy, all in favor? The 2025. Sorry, I missed it. Approval of the minutes of the November 25th, 2024 special meeting. Mr. Marcy, second. Mr. Garcia, all in favor?
I have to abstain.
Abstain, okay. Motion to approve the treasurer's report from October 25th.
So moved.
Mr. Pascal, second. Mr. Garcia, all in favor?
Okay, we're all in favor, motion carried.
Section 4, discussion and presentation, commencement level assessments presentation.
I'll turn it over at this point in time to Dr. Viola, Ms. Honeyman, and Ms. Kletzkin. Thank you for joining us tonight. Ms. Kletzkin, good to see you.
Well, we figured it's her last board presentation.
That's right, I get control of the clicker. Watch this.
You get to hold it. Tonight's the night if you're gonna throw the curve.
Fun with us on this?
Oh, yeah, jump around a little bit. So these are obviously the graduation assessments that we look at the end of every year. So just to give you a little background, or actually this year, in 2025, 24, 25, we have 463 students sitting in all of our AP classes. So we're really proud of this number of students that challenge themselves. You can see we have, I won't read them for you, the arts, humanities, sciences, and research. And this year, we're really proud to have a new AP Computer Science Principles class based on interest of our high school students. As well, we know you've heard about it before, the number of students who graduate here with college credits.
This number of students sitting in college level classes amounts to over 2,000 college credits. 2,000 college credits, which is basically kids are coming out of high school with 1 to 2 years of potential college credit already on their transcript, which really saves parents a lot of money. So we're proud of this as well. And on here, we also have the new college video production class. So again, we're always looking to inventory what the students want, what they're interested in, to make sure that we're adding those things to the repertoire. As you are aware as well, students are required at this time, and all of the students in our current high school will be required to abide by the current Regents graduation requirements, which we'll show you on the next slide. So students currently in 9th grade are bound to all of the currently in place requirements. So you're hearing about some new things which will be coming down the pike. But right now, every student is required to pass at least one English, math, science, social studies Regents, as well as a pathway. And then the advanced Regents diploma would require 2 extra math Regents and 1 extra science Regents in order to get the advanced diploma. So here we start with the English Common Core Regents. Just so you know, for English, the mastery is actually 90% mastery. So you need to be over a 90 in order to get mastery in the English Regents. So you can see, once again, our students are doing extremely well. We had 95% passing compared to 84% in the county. And we also had 52% at mastery. So we're kind of right on par with how they're doing it over 90%.
So next we're going to jump to the math regions that we have here in Plainage. So as you all know, that we have most of our 8th grade students enrolled in the algebra course. We do have 2 sections of algebra at the high school. So this first slide is going to concentrate on the district of our achievement level, and then the next slide will be broken down into the middle school. And as you can see, we surpassed the Nassau County by 13% here in passing. We dropped a little in mastery, but we're kind of still on par with Nassau County. And I'm going to show you the middle school too. What occurred last year, what's important for you all to know is, one, you can see our middle school students surpassed the county by 17% in passing. And our mastery, like I said, is on par. Nassau County also dropped in mastery, and it's important to note that we are actually comparing 2 different exams here. So the one from last year was a Common Core. This year was the Next Generation Learning Standards Algebra Regions. In addition, it's important to note that most of the regions happen towards the end of June. Whenever there's a new administration of an exam, it's at the beginning of June. So the teachers and students also lost almost a whole month of instruction before they were required to take this exam by New York State. Another thing to note is that New York State also had given us guidance of about 4 to 5 topics to make sure that we covered for this new regions that was brand new to the curriculum. However, they chose to only test the students on one of those and other topics that we left for later on, as well as other school districts in the county. So that is one of the reasons what you saw with the mastery level, as well as, but we still had amazing results of passing with our students. The Geometry Common Core, again, we surpassed the county in passing rate for our geometry class. Our mastery dropped a little bit, but just to let you all know that one of the things that we did this year is that we created a geometry section with a lab to give students additional time to master the geometry concepts. So we're excited to see how that comes out this year. Again, though, to note that this year will be the new administration of the geometry regions for the Next Generation Learning Standards. So again, that will be given in June. So again, that will be given almost a month prior to the other regions. Algebra 2 Common Core, we had 95% passing rate. We stayed flat and we increased our mastery. And just to let you know that we are going to then do that for Algebra 2 for next year. So we started with the geometry lab to see how that's going to go. And then our plans would be to roll that up to Algebra 2 as well.
In social studies, our students take 2 Regents exams. In 11th grade, they take U.S. History and Government. Our passing rate was 91%, which was an increase from last year, and on par with Nassau County. We did drop a bit in our mastery. However, we are doing data inquiry around that to work on that. And in global history and geography, which our students take in 10th grade, our passing rate was 88%, which is higher than last year and also on par with Nassau County.
As far as the mastery, we did increase tremendously with a 20% increase in our mastery for fall.
Next, we're going to go to the sciences. So Earth Science Regions is offered to our 8th grade students. And as you can see, we are on par with Nassau County, that we have the same amount of passing. And as well as our mastery is on par with the rest of Nassau. Living environment, as you can see here, again, we surpassed the county here. Our 9th grade students take this. And again, our mastery level is on par again with Nassau County. The chemistry regions, we are a little bit below the county in both passing and mastery. Our teachers are constantly looking at what our students need help with and doing item line analysis. However, it is important to note here that in our school district, we allow student selection here. So a lot of school districts across the county only go on teacher recommendation, but we pride ourselves in having all access for our students, because if they want to pursue the sciences, we want to encourage them to go for that advanced regions diploma as well. So we have that, and also the same thing goes in physics. We know that we need areas to look at what the gaps are and the areas of need here. It is also important to note that when we surveyed Nassau County, about 73% of the districts have less than 10% of their student population take the physics exam, where we have almost 14% of our student population take it. So we are currently working on that to make improvements here in that subject. Before I talk about all the different instructional enhancements that we are going to do across the board, I also want to note that Earth Science and Living Environment this year is actually the new administration of the Next Generation Learning Standards regions. However, we have chosen not to take that first administration. So unlike the math, where you are not given the option, science, you are given the option of whether you want to go for that first administration or wait. So because of the way that they realign the standards, they are giving teachers time to make those adjustments. So we have chosen to wait till the next administration in 2026. Our teachers already started last year going to all the professional development that is offered with BOCES. They've been working on the curriculum, they've been realigning it. So we are very happy, they are so excited of the new changes. They've been working really hard, but we want to let the other districts see how it goes. We're going to see what the new test looks like, and then we'll be able to then go back to the curriculum planning that we are in the process of doing, and make sure that it is complete alignment with what the region is going to expect of our students with these new exams. And then after those two roll out, the same thing will happen with chemistry and physics, and they will give us the additional year. So we will wait for the second administration on all those. Don't know what happened, but I can tell you that
Give me the clicker.
I think you just played a joke on us. That hasn't happened in all the years. So all the departments, though, regularly do Regents data inquiry. They work on department meeting time. They work during our PLC time. We have superintendent's conference day, parts of the day that we use for that. They spiral review throughout the year, so that, if you don't know what spiral review is that they take the topics that are learned at the beginning of the year and they sprinkle it throughout the year to make sure that the students don't forget it. So when it comes June, they don't have to reteach what they did in September. We, again, like I said, professional development, we constantly urge our teachers, and especially when new things are coming up, we make sure that our teachers go and have the opportunity to attend those. We created, if you all remember, when we received the COVID grants, we created after school regions prep sessions. Even though the grants now have been spent and they are finished, we are continuing that for January and the June 2025 Regions Exam Administration. And again, we just currently always work on that vertical alignment to make sure that there's no gaps, and if there are, that the teachers in the different subjects and grades cover them. It's also important to note that this year, when we're going to start the recommendation process for our new classes that we have, For math and science in the 8th grade, we're going to continue our collaborative approach. There's going to be a new element that we are going to add to the process. So our teachers at the middle school in 7th grade will still make recommendations for our students in math and science where they believe the appropriate level is. Then we are going to introduce a new parent request form in the Power School Parent Portal. Parents will be able to make their requests of where they believe that they want their child to go to, whether it's going to be Math 8 for algebra, or Science 8, or Earth Science. If the parent request and the teacher recommendation is not in alignment, the guidance counselor will then be following up to schedule a phone call or an in-person meeting with the parent to make sure that the best placement for their child's success will be in place. And that concludes our presentation. Any questions?
That's the actual last slide.
Just got the clicker back.
I actually have a few. I actually appreciate that last point that you made about trying to align parents and teachers in terms of where their child should be placed. Maybe that'll actually help with some of the weakness we've seen in mastery, because then maybe kids will have that additional time to pick up the more foundational skills to then actually master a topic. Well, I'd be curious to see if that actually happens or not.
It's also to allow that conversation more in depth if it's not in alignment. And we're going to see if it's actually in alignment of what the teacher recommends and what the parent feels. And, you know, some people might also then be able to understand the different opportunities available for their child in the high school, being able to take that at the middle school.
No, I appreciate that. I think a more collaborative approach in that sense is really helpful. This is just more out of curiosity. Why did they do for a 1-month acceleration when I guess they changed the next gen learning standards? Why is that?
So when you have a new test, you have to do scoring, and they have to look at how the districts did, and then they do their curve and their bell curve, and then, because when they put out a new exam, they don't want everybody to not do well,
Right.
so they have to norm the curve.
Right, okay, that's helpful. And then, I feel like I ask this question all the time, I still can't wrap my head around it. What is next gen? How is that different than like prior learning standards? Like, so I'm pretty familiar with algebra. What's changed so much between the prior learning standard and what the state's looking for now?
So, I mean, ever since I started teaching, they've been going on. You know, when I started teaching, it was Math A, Math B. We had trigonometry in 9th grade, but then they made it completely Algebra 2 and trig, you know, so that they're constantly like shifting and, you know, as time evolves, they feel, I guess they start vertically aligning topics and where topics should really go and what the sequence of skills that build upon each other. So again, in algebra, there were 4 to 5. I would have to get more detailed notes to know what specific topics, but they felt that really was more of an algebraic skill that needed to be in algebra in order for students to be successful in the upper level. So it's really about shifting those and also of how students learn, because it shifts in giving them multiple ways to do it.
It's hundreds of pages of documents for each subject area where you could actually go through the old standard and the new standard and they highlight the changes. Some
And
of
that's
it
what
is
we
a
do.
crosswalk.
It's
Yes.
a crosswalk that they do.
So the question you're asking, the answer is like hundreds and hundreds of pages in answers to actually really answer it. But it's about application. And you think about a simple one. Here's a simple one that's math related. Years ago, times tables were 4th grade. Always 4th grade. In 4th grade, you learned your times tables to automaticity. They moved it to 3rd grade arbitrarily one year because they decided kids need to have that skill earlier to be successful and the things that they now need for life to be successful. So it's things like that, but it's thousands of.
I mean, I remember doing times table in 3rd grade, so it's like they.
And they should.
I'm older than you. I did it in 4th.
Yeah, I did.
Well, I had Miss Yanago with the teacher at Schwarting in Brooklyn, and I remember in her class, she taught me, we learned times tables in 3rd grade. So it's interesting how things kind of constantly shift.
And in math, that's what I was explaining before, is the shifts weren't as big as they are in the science realm. So that's why they did not give districts an option. If they knew in science they have to give. And we were ahead of the curve. We've been planning for this. And I'm so proud of our teachers because they are literally on top of all the professional development that is out there to make sure that when we execute this new administration, that we know the skills and standards that they are expecting from us.
That's all I had. I don't know if anyone else has.
I do, Mike, you. Couple questions. So geometry lab, what's a lab? Is that it?
So
What's
it's
a
like
lab?
a support type of class. It gives the students extra time. So in the past, we've had transitional geometry class, and then the student goes to geometry the following year. So it's a 2-year thing. A lot of times that what happens in the summer months, you kind of have that summer slide sometimes, and then the teachers really start from the beginning anyway and kind of reteach some of the things that the students might have forgotten over the time. So it has been, in other areas, more successful when you have that extra half of credit class associated with it to get that support and take that exam in that same year.
So it's more time for those students to learn the concepts, which is
Kind of
awesome.
like the middle school where every other day.
Yes, it'll be a lab, just like a science lab. We've created a math lab to go partner. And not every child will get that. It will be on recommendation and according to the student's needs.
I think you answered a question I had about parent-teacher alignment, so that's awesome. And then ninth grade regions, you mentioned, ninth graders taking the regions as the graduation requirements change. The kids who are currently in ninth grade are locked into the old graduation requirements, so they'll stay with that. And okay, thank you.
There'll be more information brought to all of you as,
As we get closer.
Yes, and a lot of it just came out, so we are working on that.
Thank you. Comparing to Nassau County, I love it. Thank you.
No, I was just.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It says you should have anything to share on the new working graduate policy.
We will-
It's just rolled out.
Stay tuned, we are working. It's in the works. All right, thank you very much.
Hang on one minute.
Oh,
One
sorry.
last question, yes, I'm sorry. Just curious, which numbers are you happiest about? Yeah, what?
I'm happy about a lot of our numbers.
Which one that you're
I do
happy
think
we made good progress in?
I do think that we have a high percentage of passing in a lot of our areas. We've increased in certain areas. Also when you're looking at the different year to year, you're looking at different cohorts of students. So, you're looking at two completely different groups of kids when you're looking at algebra or geometry, because you're looking at ninth grade students or 10th grade students. So, every student is different. But I'm very proud of our teachers working with our students, making sure that they have what they need to succeed and everyone doing their best.
Brother, all
Yeah.
our efforts, our teachers, our administrators, we're all in to make sure kids do well.
They look at item line analysis, so, we have gap reports that we are given through BOCES, and the teachers sit there and they say, why did your students do better on this and mine didn't? And that's when they share the best teaching practices, and that's really what our PLCs and our department meetings, and they're very collaborative here. All of us have worked in different districts and areas in New York City before, and it's really truly a collaborative approach, and all of our teachers want what's best for our students, and it just shows. So I would have to say that.
And the physics things are the most concerning, those numbers, I guess, or?
So we are looking at improving that, like I had said, but I pride ourselves in that we give students selection in chemistry and physics and allow the students to do it. If they're up for the challenge and they want to try it, why not? If like I said, 73% of the districts have less than 10% of their student population taking the physics exam, where we have almost 14%, which,
We need to do a better job
so.
in chemistry goal.
So like being in this high school, I knew the kids that took physics, they're the ones that really wanted to take physics, so.
So we said, like I said
said
in the
that
presentation, we know
50%
we have
are-
work to do.
Okay.
We're looking to
We have to
improve,
improve.
but I'm glad our students though push themselves to want to.
Which is good, yeah. That was, not many people in my day, not many people took physics, so that was maybe like 10, 15 kids, so maybe there was one teacher. who
And you
did,
know what,
so
there are districts, when I looked at the numbers, that only had 14 kids.
That's, yeah, so that makes sense, yeah, so that's good that we have more kids doing it, so, something to pay attention to over the next
Yep,
couple of years.
we are on it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And Anita, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Moving on to section 5, business. Dr. Slade, I believe there's an addendum.
There is an addendum this evening. We're going to add under business, section 5, item number 21, addendum. I'm going to read the addendum at this point in time. Denial of CSEA appeal of superintendent's decision. Resolved that upon reviewing and considering the CSEA's appeal of a decision of the superintendent of schools dated September 9th, 2024, pertaining to a grievance filed by CSEA on July 10th, 2024, the decision of the superintendent of schools is sustained, supported, and in all respects, and the grievance is hereby denied. And what I would ask the board to do tonight is to accept items, first of all, to accept the section 5 as amended with the addition of item number 21. So please look to consider items number 1 through 21 and as amended.
So do I have a motion to accept items number 1 through 21 as amended? Mr. Marcy, second.
Second?
Mr. Pasquarello, all in favor?
All right, all in favor, motion carried.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving on to section 6, pride and cleanage. Opportunity for board members to present on attendance, participation at school and or community events. Would you like to go first?
I was thrilled actually, to be able to attend both Winter 1 concert and Winter 2 concert at the high school. I know I probably say this every year. I feel like I'm in New York City, like listening to true talented performers. And I'm wowed every time I attend these events. And to see the alumni for both the choir and the band come back and play. I mean, it was so heartwarming to me to see that. And you could see how excited they were to come back. And to see our principal and some teachers playing instruments was just wonderful. So I also want to just thank you to Ms. Rotolo and Mr. Lakes and Mr. Swyertson. I always feel like I say his name wrong. Stevenson. I do say it wrong. That's why I call him Carl. I won't be wrong. Sorry. But just thank you for dealing with the construction, because I can't imagine, I mean, just being able to move instruments. And I know sometimes they come down here and they find space, and being so wonderful about finding time for children during the construction.
I
I
would
just
also
want
have to add in there the custodial staff, because you have to imagine that
they're moving, right?
there is no storage at this point in time because everything's on the stage. So they have to slide things in and out on a daily basis. But they're also like really been great troopers.
Yeah, so I just, when I think about everything they did to put the concerts together
Oh,
under
yes.
these circumstances,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just incredible. So, thank you.
Mr. Versace? Yeah, you just pressed the button.
So to piggyback off of that, I didn't actually get to attend the concert in person last night, but I was carpooling, and I love the fact that I can stream from the car or Starbucks or wherever I am to kind of get a glimpse of what's happening within the school district. So I think that is fantastic that we're able to do that. And last Tuesday, I don't know if everyone realizes this, but we have 2 hockey teams that represent Plainedge. I was able to go to the varsity game last Tuesday. They're having a fantastic season. It's 3 towns combined, Wantagh, Seaford, and Plainedge, but more than half of our team is Plainedge kids. So they're 4-2 right now, and their next game is Sunday at 8, if anyone would like to come down to Beth Beach to check that out. And that's sometimes also streamed as well. It's not every game, but sometimes you can catch a game online.
I did, I was able to attend the ski arcade. My 5th grader had
put together a game that I did not do very well at. But it was impressive to see all the hard work that had gone into the games and seeing the younger siblings running around. Really a wonderful event, as always. Also able to attend the concert last night. I didn't realize that I could bring my trumpet with me, probably for the best that I didn't. I do want to note that I was particularly impressed to see that Mr. Lates had arranged a couple of the choral songs that they sang. So, having friends who study music and knowing the complicated and difficult that is, I was very impressed to see that. And as Mrs. Maggio noted, the performance was wonderful, and we always use more trumpet.
So for myself, same thing. I attended Winter One concert and Steam Arcade, both were great events. And in addition to that, and wanted to just also congratulate Dr. Selena on the Nice Skate Award. Speaking with Mr. Pasquarella, in passing, he mentioned that when he was on the board, one of the reasons why they brought Dr. Selena on was because of his technology background. It's nice to see that he hasn't taken his foot off the gas pedal, and that we continue to push the envelope in trying to make sure that Plainage is ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. And I didn't even think about the streaming aspect of that, but what a great feature to be able to provide that to the community so that if you can't make it live, you're still able to enjoy the arts, the sports, everything that Plainage is able to offer this community. So congratulations again, and thank you.
Yeah, actually, we got some nice compliments. We upgraded our system in the auditorium this year. That system is older, was older. It now is, a 4K system, and we did hear from some of the people that are observing it. If you watch the stream is incredible. Obviously, things need to be replaced and upgraded, et cetera. Middle school will be up next in the future. We're also selected by many school districts. We'll be the first actually for baseball this year to actually move to Huddle. So Huddle, this will be the first year. We'll be one of the districts that'll be experimental right now. You may see if you attend a baseball game, they hang off the back of the thing, they hang an iPad off it, and that's how they kind of stream the game. Softball is a different story. Softball has 5 cameras this time here at the high school for our varsity and junior varsity teams. But this year will be the first time because it has analytics inside of it, and it has the AI component, which is really what they use. It breaks down the game. It allows you to do it by position. It allows you to do many different things. We were one of their first pilot districts back in the day when there was 2 competing forces that were out there, and they still are today. But Huddle actually stepped into the baseball realm and starting this year, and we're going to see how we do there. And then we may convert over in the end for our softball teams as well, seeing how it does. But right now, the baseball is going to be the experiment this year, so we're excited to see that coming in the near future.
Is it Stream Arcade or Steam Arcade?
Could be both.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Stream.
We're still in that transition.
Yeah. I don't know, you hit 40 and you just stick with the old terminology no matter what. I used to make fun of my father, and here I am.
So just so you know, that we had started with the STEAM studios, and then when we continued the vertical alignment with the middle school and the high school, and we called that Stream. But, the elementary team was like, we do the research too, so we want the R. So, but they are so used to saying STEAM. So,
But
next year it will be.
Okay. I'm not surprised they wanted the art because that's a very passionate group of educators, and they did a great job. It was a great event. It's always fun. I mentioned to somebody that night, it's always good to be able to get the families into the buildings. Having secure campuses is really important, but it also means you're not sure all the time what's happening inside the buildings. So I think that's great. It was a lot of fun, and I couldn't believe that those cardboard boxes and junk got turned into games that actually survived the end of the night. Okay. I don't know. I saw a lot of young kids playing games, and they all were still standing, which was amazing. And then youth wrestling started. I help out there, although not as much this year because we had about 7,000 board meetings over the last month. But youth wrestling's going on strong. Some new people running that, and that's been a lot of fun.
If there's nothing else, we'll move on to section 7, new business report, discussion about the personal action report. I believe this was brought up by Mr. Pasquarello, so I'll turn it over to him.
I want to bring to the board's attention, so we discussed in September items we wanted to put on the website, be more transparent to the public, and I noticed last month the PAR just had employee ID numbers, which nobody knows what that is, who it is, it's an internal code they're using for each employee. And I believe the conversation we had at the table that night in September was we were okay with it going on the website as is, and we had reservations about putting FMLAs on, because it's, could be a HIPAA violation or whatnot, but, so I believe we should be posting the PARs with the new employees' names on them and the retiring employees' names on them.
So,
Not the way it is now, so.
sure. So, you know, one of the things I can appreciate why you feel the way you do, but one of the things I also like to do is also take into consideration what our executive administration tells us, you know, that they're comfortable with. One of the things that was mentioned is, you know, putting the names on there might open this up to more types of cyber attacks, things of that concern. So under their advisement, I think, was it?
If it's okay with you,
Yeah, sure.
I'd like Dr. LaValliant to speak on
Okay,
this
yeah,
topic, if I
please.
could, please, for the board's consideration.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. So I handle HR. Everybody knows, but just to disclose, some of you know that. And right now we have about 56 districts in Nassau County. We did do a quick survey, and about 50% of them post the PAR at all. 50% don't post any PAR. And I don't think anybody here is suggesting that we don't post the PAR. I think it is good information. It should be transparent and disclosed to the community. In my professional opinion, though, posting the name really doesn't have any inherent value that I see in that transparency. The board will see every name, the public will see in that employee ID number, and will see the school, the location, the salary, the position the person's employed in, which I think are the things that you want to let the community see and be transparent on. The problem is with the growing identity theft, phishing scams, data mining, and bad actors, malicious actors looking to mine data. You now have a name, an exact salary, location, an employer, and I don't know if everybody's aware, the only other piece you would need probably is social security number in order to start doing banking transactions or other financial transactions on impersonating an individual. It's a recent data breach, by the way, in 2023, I believe. Just about every U.S. citizen's social security number was compromised by a national public data company that used to do background checks. So it'd be very easy to get that one piece of data, combine it with the data that we put online. So I guess the question is, what is the inherent value in having the name publicly facing if all the other pieces are publicly facing? And does the value of that outweigh, our obligation? I think everybody here believes the same way that we do, that we have an obligation to protect our employees from malicious actors and identity theft. So those are just my thoughts on that. My recommendation is not to do it because I'm not sure I understand why it's needed. But that's just my opinion on it. So thank you.
So I should have turned it over to you sooner. But I mean, I think you hit all the points why I would be in favor of it. And that's what was explained, I think, to Mike and I during the agenda prep session, and we thought it was appropriate to leave the names off. I understand also Mr. Pasquarello's point of view, that is public information that's foilable. So, if people want it, they could really get to it. I think
it's also online through the see-through New York and stuff. So a lot of that is able to be gotten. That's the sentence of the year. But ultimately, we've seen the district become much more transparent. We have more documents than probably every other district, I want to say, at this point. And although I could see why before I was on the board, I would have liked to be able to see the PARs, I also think that we've gotten so far towards where we wanted to go with administration so passionate about not doing it. At least for now, I'm comfortable not doing it. And then if we felt the need next year or whatever, of course we can make a change. But at this point, I would defer to them.
Yeah, please.
You just had me attest to this, Jen, as well. being a former teacher, you live a public life as it is. You know, so much of your information you're not trying to expose. I think we owe it to our teachers to protect them as much as possible.
I know a district who literally received a direct deposit on their paycheck from somebody, and it wasn't the person. And that caused an issue, not here, but a local district. And I think the best we can help teachers and administrators
Kids are savvy too. Like, there's a lot of times kids will hunt you down and try to look for any information they can on you. So I think if we could protect them, that would be the best thing to do for them, for their safety.
The information's already out there, the information's already out there, so I don't see any risk with it being in one more place. It's already out there on multiple websites, you said, so. But
If they
obviously.
want it, they're gonna find it no matter what.
They're gonna find it no matter what, so, all right.
I make it easier. That's my personal opinion.
And I know I myself have spoken about transparency quite a bit. And, transparency doesn't mean that every piece of information, but everything is shared. You have an obligation to balance, the information that the public deserves and is entitled to hear and receive, along with making sure we balance it out with respecting the privacy and protecting the privacy of the employees, the teachers, the custodial staff, the bus drivers, everyone who works here in Point Edge. And, it's a difficult line at times to walk, but I think that, we've tried to strike the balance the best we can. The information, the community knows what positions are being hired, what the salaries are. They have that information, and if they want to find everything else out, they can. But the valid concerns are central administration as far as I'm concerned with this.
So, I guess it seems like we have consensus to keep it as is. So
How about Doug, if you see this becoming an issue again, you bring it up, we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, it's always next year, so yeah.
Okay, so moving on to number 2, wild child pediatric practice patient support discussion. I'll turn it over to Mr. Garcia. I believe this is yours.
Yeah, so everybody I think knows what I went through and my kids went through. Ultimately, there are still kids that are excluded from the district. And I'd like to see a way, look, there's things you can do and that you can't do. You live in, you gotta follow what the state's gonna tell you, right? That cat's out of the bag. But what can we do to try to make things even a little bit easier for those kids while they figure out, are they going to homeschool? Are they gonna get revaccinated? Are they gonna move out of state? And I'd like to provide them tutoring. Obviously, we can't do that. That's been explained. You've explained that to me that, they're not students in the district. So you're really limited, right, Dr. Selena, in what you could actually do. So what I would like to do, what maybe we could do, for the first question is, what can we do? So can we loan them textbooks? If we can't loan them textbooks, can we loan the textbooks to the library, including teacher editions for a period of time for those parents to photocopy pages? If we can't do that, can I borrow a textbook for like 3 days and I'll run to the copy guy and get them? But there's got to be just something, and maybe we could have the principals check in with those families once every couple months, if that's not already happening. Some of this could be. And just say, like, is there any update? Do you have anything? Is there anything we could do? And the answer might be what they need, we can't provide. But if there is something we could do, I'd really like to try to find a way to do it.
So as far as eligibility for any type of services, once you're unenrolled, you're no longer considered to be a student of the district. What you are eligible for, obviously, is for our guidance department at the high school to be able to supply guidance on the IHIP, which is the Individualized Home Instructional Plan, which is a requirement by law. So you need to be registered in a school, obviously New York State, that it's compulsory education. You need to be registered in some type of school, or what I mean by either formal schooling or you're in home instruction. And then a parent is required to file a plan about what their educational plan is going to be and how they're going to meet the New York State learning standards in the home instructional program itself. As far as media, computers and such like that, since you're not attending the school here, it may open up and could open up, obviously, to other opportunities for people to not, receive any services as well that aren't even enrolled that live here. Remember, we have 6,175 homes that are here at this point in time. There is a minority of people that, choose to home school, a super minority, I should say. And obviously I can respect that and understand what it is, but during a time when a person's unenrolled, they're not eligible to receive services or any supplies from the school district, is my understanding to date at this point. I don't think that, obviously we want every child needs to be, I believe every child benefits by being inside of our schools every day. And we advocate for that. So our nurses are also available to help people understand what's necessary in order to become eligible to attend our schools as quickly as possible. We don't want that to happen. But I respect the parents' decision in order to decide what they want to do with their children. That's currently where we are with what we can offer at this point. As far as reproducing books or photocopying books, violation of copyright law, so I would not recommend that we do that even to try to help people out, because that I can't know about that. So that's not something that I can support.
Could they be loaned to the library for the library to decide who's going to take them out?
The library is our partner, and I don't see any harm in that.
I mean, it might be good for kids like my kid, my oldest, who sometimes just forgets his book, and maybe I shouldn't say this.
The problem
taking pictures of pages.
Yeah, the problem with that is that if we were to take out copies and buy copies and start to stock the library with that, we don't give the library books. The library has their own budget to buy books. So I think you're going down a path. Plus, the other thing is that we have to be able to supply them with the most recent copies. And, we spend a lot of money on books inside of this district. And to keep track of all those things, I don't think that would be realistic. There are universities that do that. I know that. So, because I know you can go and take out of a university, but those are usually typically very different scenarios than what you're speaking about at this point.
We would have trouble loaning the library the books. They would have to buy them and inventory them in their ISBN. And the other piece is, a lot of our stuff is online. And we're doing a lot of online stuff too, so we wouldn't be able to share the digital stuff because that also would be a copyright.
And I do know that, the library looks at our book of the month and stuff like that, and they try to supply their library with those books.
Can I ask us to try to think of anything? And if there is something, we try to provide it to those families. 'Cause
Most definitely.
as being on the other side of that, it isn't easy. And I don't even mean forget about all the other stuff, but like the idea of trying to keep your kid on pace so they hopefully can get back into the district. Thank God for Anthony being able to do that. You're not sure you're keeping them up to date. Like, it's not an easy process. And if there is something we could do, if guidance could reach back out to those families and do a check-in. Is everything going well? Is there anything that can be done? Look, you might have to say, no, we can't do that. But if there is something.
I don't see any reason why I can't meet with the team and we can talk about what the possibilities are. And as far as touching base with people, they're still residents and they're still taxpayers. All right. So I don't see a problem with doing that as well. So I'll send something out to the board after we brainstorm over the next week, and we'll come up with something that, if there's something that we can do. But we will definitely carefully consider what's been requested. Thanks.
I would agree with that. I mean, I would echo what Mr. Garcia is saying, whether syllabuses can be made public so people know where you're supposed to be at a particular week. If we can think creatively, I think that would be helpful to help those families out. So we'd be in favor of that.
I think it's a small, manageable group of people, so not a big task to reach out to these people and try to help them out the best we can. So I'm all for this job. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item, which is 3, envision math update and understanding literacy, spelling competency for students. I believe this is jointly brought up by Mr. Garcia and Ms. Pasquarella. So I don't know who wants to go.
Doug, do you want me to talk a little bit about the math part and you'll talk a little bit about the spelling, or do you have something you want to talk about?
So I was just locking the table in place. You'll talk about the math, I'll talk about spelling.
Sure. So Envision Math is the new program this year. My kids are doing it, which means I'm, at all the kids' parties with the parents whose kids are doing it and all that. So we're getting a different view maybe than other places. I think I just want to know how we think it's going. Anytime you start a new curriculum, you got to expect there's going to be growing pains with it. Not everybody's going to love it at first, whether it's staff, parents, kids, right? I mean, it's not uncommon for there to be some growing pains. I think don't over explain yourself sometimes.
But, so the implementation is going great. Our teachers are continuously going to professional development. They have been meeting district-wide on Superintendent's Conference Day. They all got to collaborate across the district on their grade level. And they're constantly, working together and looking at the curriculum and the standards and the different opportunities available to them into the program with the students. I have to say that we're getting from building administrators as well as teachers saying they're so impressed of the academic vocabulary already. When Superintendent's Conference Day, when Mrs. Honeyman and I were walking around, the first grade teachers, for instance, told us they could not believe the vocabulary that they're already using in November. So, and also, the younger grades have different, they don't have as many gaps necessarily to fill in, and our teachers are doing the best that they can, and they're constantly working together to meet the needs of all the students. So I have to say, overall, we are very happy with what we're seeing. To date, all of our buildings do data meetings. And to date, right now, we have about 86% across the district that are proficient in the different units that were given in Envision. So, with any program, it takes about 3 years to really see the true results of that program. But, we keep doing it, and our students are doing great so far. And, there are some different transitions. But overall, that's what I would have to report out.
Is it harder than Go Math was?
So the harder is relative to the person. It's having, as we presented last year, having that mathematical mindset shift into really applying the skills more than just regurgitating and doing the computation. So it's really taking those foundational computational skills and now applying it to the real world context. And that's what we're trying to build in our students. And that's what all the exams, as well as all the way from the AP exams, working our way backwards. So we also do that backwards design here because we want to make sure that we're building the skills in elementary that are going to make them successful. Because remember, in elementary, they're sponges. That's when their minds are the most moldable, and we need to get that there.
Is that why you kind of brought it in to all the grades at the same time instead of filtered it through? It's because you want to get ready for what's already there at the high school or will be soon enough, I guess?
That, and also, again, like the math didn't necessarily change. Our teachers aligned the standards. They went through on that committee all the different standards and made sure that it was aligned to the New York State curriculum. They took a lot of time and researching it and felt like that was the best program. Remember, they already were doing Go Math, and they still felt that Envisions made the changes that the New York State curriculum was going towards. And that was really important because Go Math did not necessarily make the shifts that they needed to. So if they stayed with it, they didn't feel that our students would be successful with these tests.
Go Math was virtually not an option at that point, right? Because it was
on the table when we did the presentation.
But I mean, the company had actually started to shut down.
Well, it stopped its one version and went to their new one, and that's when we saw that they didn't really shift. They just put up a new face on a package type of thing. And that's why the committee took a year-long process to really dive deep into the different programs, and they evaluated each one in the different rubrics that we had.
And I know the district, you guys have already made some adjustments to, I know that one of the things that seemed to drive everyone nuts was the pick the best three, pick all that are correct, and they're like 3 right answers, and if they only picked 2, it was wrong.
So,
but not to get into the weeds, you guys are making changes on the fly to try to bridge whatever gaps there are.
So I actually know that particular question that you were asking. So there was one that said, choose the 3 that, or choose all that apply. And some of the young grades said choose all the 3 that apply. So the ones that maybe weren't so concrete, the teachers felt, okay, let's get them used to that type of questioning. So let's say they knew that there were 3 right answers out of the 5, they're going to tell their students to choose the 3. So again, that's coming from the educators looking, shifting, seeing what their students need at the time. They saw, they never saw that in the past. So we're going to shift and get them accustomed to it and build up their skills so that in the future, they won't have to tell them how many really are the right answers. They will then be able to choose all that apply. So yes, they are constantly shifting.
So at this point, mostly growing pains.
For some, if that's.
But I mean,
again,
it's
it's a
to be
transition,
expected.
it's a transition, and overall, I have to say, when we looked at the data for, as of to date, to have 86% of our students reaching proficiency in all of the units so far, I think that's kudos to our students and our teachers, and our students do rise to the occasion, and I'm happy to hear that mathematical, academic vocabulary being used. I call me corny or nerdy, but it's really impressive to hear that language in the classroom.
I mean, I'll just speak to my experience with Envision Math. I mean, I look at some of the questions that my first grader has in terms of homework, and I'm lost. And I'm someone who's taking calculus, econometrics, finance, CPA. Like, I'm a math-centric person, and I struggle with first grade math, which is, I guess I shouldn't admit, but that's where I'm at. So I can only imagine if you're an actual first grader how difficult that can be. And as a parent, that's been one of the things is obviously you want to help your child, and you feel like you're unable to.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
I'll respond
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
So one of the things is they learn, the teachers teach them differently than we all learned. So, and that's what, when you ask me about the standards and the skills,
Right.
it has definitely shifted since you and I were in the classroom. 100%. I mean, I also taught high school math, and it is very different of how they teach it. But again, the teachers are teaching the way in the classroom that they should be. We also have that website that we created for parents with all the resources. And that's what was one of the things that the teachers was impressed about this program. It gave more parental resources. We are looking to create more parent workshops for parents who want to come and dive deeper into it through the Teacher Center. So that is something that we will continuously, we've offered, one in the past to start the rollout. But again, we have to remember, it is different than how we all learned, and it's really working on those, and it's the differentiation in the classroom. And that's why when some students, receive proficiency 80 or higher, they'll get assigned from the program and enrichment. And maybe that won't be able to necessarily get the enrichment at that time, but it tries to push our students. So, and in my career, what I've seen students, like I said, rise to it, and if they can't get it at that point, the teacher then helps and tries a different support. So that's what, like I said, the committee had come up with, that they like the different supports, enrichment, that is all offered because we have different learners. And it's okay to have productive struggle. And we teach the kids that in the growth mindset. It's okay that you can't get it yet, but you will get it. So it's not that you can't, you just are not there yet. And that builds character and work ethics, and we have seen great results with that. So that's what I could say. And I urge any parents, if they are, to contact the teachers and say, what can I do? Or where can I get support on how to go over this with my child? And they will direct you.
In terms of measuring proficiency, is that through the Envision Math program, like that's what's calculating how the child's proficient or not?
Well, when they do their formative and summative assessments, our teachers track the data, and all the building levels have data meetings on every single student. So recently, the building principals reported out to us all their math and ELA data, and that's how that goes.
ELA data from like NEWAs or?
From NWEA, from FNP, running records. We have core phonics, we have encoding assessments, we have a lot of different data points of students, and that's what's discussed. Okay. You can't have just one data point on a child.
Do you want to switch gears to the second part, I don't know if that's for you, Mr. Pascarella, the
Yeah,
spelling and literacy.
the spelling test portion, so we received an email a week ago, and the constituent casually stated, oh, there's no more spelling tests for elementary school students. I was just surprised by that. I was taken aback. There's no spelling test going on at the elementary school levels. I've looked online. I see there's different approaches. There's some people that say it's essential to developing English language skills. And there's other people that say it's no longer viewed as a critical tool for instruction right now, because probably they've been doing spelling tests for 50, 60, 70. It's the beginning of schooling, I guess. So I'm just curious, who is getting spelling tests in our schools and who's not, and there's a philosophy behind it or whatnot.
I can answer that.
Okay.
You share this? All right.
Share.
So spelling tests are, again, it's kind of like the multiplication test from way back when that wrote memorization. And it's not really how kids learn how to spell in own words. So spelling tests are not at all aligned with the science of reading. And the science of reading is all about having students understand and learn spelling principles and learning how letters work together. So if you have like an S, a T, and an L together, you know that there has to be a vowel before and at the end of it. And we know that because we learn spelling principles and we learn different ways, morphology and how letters work in conjunction with each other. And then we also teach morphology, which are prefixes, suffixes, and parts of words. So any roots of words, we make sure that we're doing that work. And we call that word work or word study. And we're doing that regularly, and especially now through the UFly program, which we brought in, we're doing that regularly. The other piece of it is etymology, which is where words come from, which, Latin, Greek, German, French. And for the most part, you have certain rules, like for instance, English language, words don't end in V or J or I, but broccoli ends in an I. How come broccoli can end in an I? Why? Because it's not really an English word. It doesn't come from the English language. So all of these things are things that we teach students like throughout their careers. And the idea that you're just going to get a list of words, first of all, how do I choose that list? Do I choose maybe the ACK principle and make sure that we're working on snack and stack and pack and kids learn those things? What we're finding is that when they write, they don't transfer over. So really teaching kids how to learn words, understand words, and then the last piece really is the conceptualization of it and understanding vocabulary. So it goes along with vocabulary, it goes along with understanding word parts, understanding word forms, and understanding what letters work together and why. And that's how we teach spelling. So spelling is actually taught and assessed every day in every single subject. Because you're writing in math, you're writing in science, and we're constantly looking at that. And as students get older, if I spell it wrong, like, enough, ENUFF, you understand what I'm trying to say, so my words make sense. And now we need to work on a very difficult OUGH, which is a difficult concept because you can't sound that out. So we're working on spelling, but the idea of spelling tests don't align with the things that we're doing and how we teach kids to learn and understand how to read and write.
So they're getting it through like a vocabulary test, I guess? Is there a
No, there's not
assessment
a
on that
test
now?
for it.
Okay.
It's about daily teaching and learning, and it's going on every day in all the subjects. So if we're noticing a student is having trouble spelling, we work on those things. If I notice that you're having trouble writing, we work on those things. And it's very specific to students, just like our math is. So as you're working on something, you might struggle with, like, telling time was one I always used. Student can't tell time, all of a sudden we're putting them in extra help. No, they don't need to go to like a resource room or academic intervention supports. You just need to work on that specific area. So it's based on student need, but the way that we teach spelling and the way that we teach reading and writing are really combined. And I gave Dr. Salina 2 articles that he put into that are research-based. Everything we do really needs to be steeped in research. So it's not like my opinion, like I've decided.
It's a philosophy from research.
It's not, yeah, it's not a philosophy.
Okay.
It's research-based, and you could see all of the different folks who were cited in the article. So it's not really an opinion. This is about what's been proven to work, what works best, how kids learn, and then how they retain and really own that, because your vocabulary level is really important to predict future success, regardless of what you choose to do.
So less time going over the list of words and having the kids sit there for a test, and more time focusing on, you know, their vocabulary or.
learning how to write, learning how letters work together, learning, you know, spelling, sounds, principles, and then where words come from so they understand.
I also want to bring up, there was a request to receive back, so now is the appropriate time to talk about this, carbon copies to things that I speak to parents about, responses where board members are on it. So I'm going to ask Dr. LaValliant to speak to that for a moment, basically about why that doesn't happen and when it can happen. So, and so I don't want people to think that we're not looping the board in, but Guy's going to explain a little bit about that right now.
Sometimes communications are tricky, as you know, so if a parent does write specifically about their child and happens to include someone to the board, which is fine, that's on them, it's their decision to disclose that information to whoever they email. But the response sometimes includes also confidential and specific information to the child, and we, as the school district administration and teachers, really do not want to disclose that information to others, so we may not copy the original list of people, not because we don't want anybody to know the response, but because we may be violating their rights to privacy, FERPA, and so forth. So that would be a reason why the detailed response may not be shared with all who may have been included initially.
And I think that we can do a better job of the generic information, communicating it back. So when it's a response to something that's for the general good of the group and not specific to a child specifically, which Dr. Levine did, I need to do a better job in those responses, or whoever the team member is that's responding, if it's not specific to anything that we feel is going to be a violation of that, to be able to share that information back so the board kind of knows. And yeah, as you've seen, some of my responses have been when there's information, whether a person was responded to or not, that we definitely will, moving forward, you'll definitely get a response from that this person was responded to with a date. So you know that in a timely fashion, it's 24 to 48 hours. If it needs research or involvement with other team members, which it does sometimes, you know, obviously, if you have a question about that, but there should be closure to these items, so you're not like kind of thinking out there, did it happen, did it not happen, et cetera, and we can do a better job with that. So we will be moving forward. So I just wanted to share that with the board tonight.
Appreciate the response. I know my wife emailed about something, and then she told me she got a response, and I had no idea. So that's always interesting when you're in the same household.
Yeah, I don't know that you need to know the info, get bogged down with that, but just, hey, this was forwarded to the building principal, it's handled.
But I appreciate you.
But yeah, thank you.
Explain
That makes a lot of sense to you.
why certain things are handled the way they are. Obviously, we have 5 pretty new board members on here, and just don't understand procedure sometimes, so that's helpful to understand.
I hope that refines it a little bit. You know, it's not perfect, but at the same time, you know, we can do a better job.
As long as we get closure on the whole situation,
People cannot be responded to, and people, it's important that people understand that it's important when they communicate with us, that they get to the right person. A lot of times, I don't even see the response in the sense that, you know, if it's something that's guidance oriented, well, I want to find the best person that I can get you to so you can answer the question. Remember, I don't know all the answers to all the questions. It's just not possible. And if it's very specialized, so if it's something that is, I don't know, athletics oriented, it's going to be sent and that person needs to respond. And their expectation is that I want to keep the 24 to 48 hour timeline so that I can get back to them and so the parent knows, et cetera. And sometimes it's really a phone conversation. So they're going to pick up, but they will get a response and then they need to let me know. And then I'll definitely share that if the board's carbon copy, that's something that the person was responded to and here's the person that responded. Just so I can get that information to you. If it's generic information that would be for the edification of the people that are on the board, we have no problem sharing that. But if it's more specific information, like the one email that came back, that one we can't. That parent will get a response and we're finishing that up now. But the idea behind it though is that one would not come to you. But what will come to you moving forward and what my best plan is at this point in time is to notify you that the parent that wrote us on such and such date was responded to and who responded to. So we have closure on that for yourselves.
Can I just mention that something that I always thought was very helpful was on page 28 of the calendar is the chain of communication. And not only as a board member, but as a parent, I think if we remind, like, I don't get any of these emails personally that you guys, that get sent to you. I rarely get, which is weird because other board members get emails, but I rarely get emails. So they're not. And if you look at the chain of command, there's like 8 people before they, parents should be emailing us collectively, but
one of us. So I think page 28 is important, that we also remind the community that, like, if you look there and follow that chain of communication, because it's helpful, because if you're following that, then you're gonna talk to the first person who has direct knowledge of your child or of the sports, and I think that could also alleviate the wait time, because then we're encouraging parents or community members to go right there. So page 28, I find this to be a very important, when I moved into this district, I was wowed by that, because you don't see that it's clear and it's helpful. So.
Is there anywhere on the website where page 28 is page 1, like, kind of right in front of people?
Well, I think.
Right, and I feel bad to say, oh, look at our district calendar, it's on the last page of the PDF.
I think it's a great suggestion. We can definitely promote the chain of communication.
Maybe a parent square.
We referenced the last page of the PDF, but who's really scrolling down?
It is a PDF that you're not looking at the page 20. I didn't know it existed until Ms. Madden mentioned it
I remember when
that time.
I got caught by that too. Like, I was not aware.
It's a great
the first time I
document.
started getting more involved, I wasn't aware. So there is a way to increase knowledge of that.
Education homepage or
Yeah.
something like.
Let's leave it to them to figure out.
Well, they can figure it out.
I think it's
Somewhere
important
else.
we share that, though, because clearly people are going to us a lot. I mean, I
I've done it on
do.
social media, I think once at least, but we probably could figure something else out too. Yeah.
We can create a campaign on that. That's not an issue whatsoever through social media and get it out to parents. That's not an issue. I think it's something that is definitely a great tool. It's something that we brought here a long time ago, and it wasn't something that was unique. I took it and used it in my previous position from, I want to give credit where it's due. The Jericho Public Schools had it there because, they were being bombarded, the board members at that point in time, about lots of questions about lots of different things, and they developed this. So we basically took it and made it our own, and Rosalind and I brought it here. Because I really thought it was a way, also a mechanism for board members to say, if they were curious, who would you talk to about these things? One, it helps you. Two, it allows us to provide focus and direction to people to say, it's like, listen, these are the major areas of, our schools, and I think this person would be the best person to take a look at. You can always take a look at the chain of communication that's located on the next page. But it is hard when it's buried in page 28 to know it's there. Let's see what we can do about it, see to promote it better.
One
Sorry.
quick question, going back to the original topic of curriculum. You mentioned science of reading. Is our literacy curriculum fully aligned with science of reading?
So yes, our coaches and our administrators, meaning literacy coaches, administrators, along with our teachers, absolutely have been going through all of the units of study, and we've aligned them to the science of reading. I know Dr. DiPaola mentioned the phonics assessment and the encoding assessments. So we are still looking at our 4th and 5th graders for any gaps they might have from COVID, and also they didn't get the U-Fly instruction. So we're absolutely doing all of that work all of the time. They are working with the teacher center. We're doing the micro-credentials through SUNY New Paltz. I had over 30 teachers across the district, even up through the high school, take the micro-credential on their own. So we're doing a lot of work with that. So I would say, yes, it absolutely is. It's aligned with all of the science and the things we need to be doing it, which is why it's still been successful for us.
Okay, moving on to point 4, discussion regarding assistant superintendent for curriculum hiring process. I think this was brought up by Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, so we got big shoes to fill. And so, and I could even be confused on the chart we got, but it looks like we're basically going to be brought in as the last interview, the final candidate. I checked with people I know in other districts. When it comes to building level, principal and up, the boards have a very active role in it. And there really seem to be almost 2 schools of thought. One where they sit in the initial hiring committee with the parents. I think most were getting the resumes for all the applicants. And then others were actually only interviewing the final 3 candidates, which was almost like at the central administration level interview. I don't know that we need to get into, I think we need an active role in hiring building level principal and up. And I'd like us to make sure we have that active role.
If it's okay, I'm gonna have Dr. LaValliere reply at this
Yeah,
point.
it's okay. Yeah, of course. So, yeah, obviously I do HR, so there's a lot of hiring procedures and practices here on candidate at this level. I'm personally running the committees to make sure that we get the best candidate, smooth operation, to help the committee through the process. The board does have a timeline that was sent to them. And obviously, we asked me out this Sunday. We're going to start reviewing resumes and screening people out that are not qualified at all for any reason. And then we start our different committees. The larger committee does consist of myself, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Steve Viola, our two curriculum associates, a representative of the Plainage Administrative Association, probably one at each level, elementary and secondary. We have PFT representation, our curriculum associates, and we have two parents that will be sitting on the committee, which we always invite to these types of interviews. I did survey quickly in Essex County. Obviously, it's the holidays, so I didn't get as many responses as I would like, but I did reach out to my colleagues, and really didn't find a lot of folks that were following any different process than we follow. The Board of Education is the last arbiter and interviewer in most districts. So they allow the process to flow through for candidates to be screened and vetted carefully. And then typically the superintendent makes a recommendation or two recommendations to the Board of Education. And then the Board of Education meets with those candidates and can interview them. And before appointing them, can either accept the candidate or reject the candidate. So the board does have a role in the process, a very important role, to screen the final candidate or candidates to make sure that the board is comfortable with the candidate, and they can reject and say to us, go back at the process, we're not comfortable with this candidate. So it is an important process. We do feel that parents will be represented on the committee, which I know is of interest to the board, which we have always invited. I've always invited parents to participate at this level. And personally, from my experience, it would maybe throw off committee members to have two board members sitting on the full committee. Maybe a little intimidating to them. Just sharing that personally, I think it would be, but the board does have an opportunity to be involved and is a very important part of the process as you see sequenced out. So I just wanted to share that with you.
So, I mean, just to give my 2 cents, I was comfortable with what was laid out originally by, leadership team. So I obviously am also time constrained, so it's not something that I can dedicate more time to anyway. As I mentioned, I think one of the asks I made was just to see all the resumes, just to have it, just to look at it. But in terms of the dates and who's involved at each step, I personally don't feel the need to be involved more so. That being said, I'm sure if there are board members who feel like, for whatever reason, that they want to be more involved, I think we should hear it out and then decide if that's something that we want to go down that road. But I was satisfied, personally.
My concern is by the time you get to a final candidate, that person already kind of thinks they have the job. You're trying to undo something that kind of already happened, or am I understanding the process?
No,
That's not,
completely wrong.
that's not how it typically works. It might appear that way, but the candidates are fully aware that, first of all, we tell all candidates, every candidate comes through, I tell them, do not resign from your current position until the board has approved your candidacy. And for the higher level positions, we tell them, you have to meet with the board is going to interview you, and they could accept or reject your candidacy. So we make them fully aware. I caution them throughout the process, do not resign from your current employer until the board approves your candidacy. The Board of Education is the only body that can approve employees here. They approve every employee that comes here based on our recommendations. So candidates do not expect that. They know, and especially at this level, candidates will know that that's the case and that they're not guaranteed the job. And listen, in the past, we have rejected candidates in the final round. We have walked away from candidates past committee and through the final round because we did not feel they met the high standards that we were not comfortable in referring them to you at that point to do that. So I think the process works in my experience. I've done this a very long time. but you do have the opportunity to screen these candidates out, and you are a valuable part of the process towards the end. And honestly, at the beginning, we screen out a lot of people that are just not even qualified. I mean, you don't want to see a person that doesn't hold any credentials or any value, and you're going to be sitting there, just wasting your time. And, it's my job to waste my time, but it's not wasting my time. It's valuable to kind of weed out the group with others. And then obviously have a full committee with all of the stakeholders represented in the district. And then you get the final word. And if you reject it, we're good with that. I mean, everyone has to be comfortable with this position. It is a hard position to fill. It is middle of the year. It is going to be more difficult to fill. Honestly, I'm not sure how many candidates we're going to get yet. We're going to see. We're putting it out on all kinds of social media. I put it on my own personal social media. We put it out on the School Leadership 2.0, which is a kind of a homegrown website of administrators on Long Island. We put it out on there. We put it out on the listservs, my listserv, the other listservs around, and get that in as many ways as we can. But it is middle of the year. So we'll see what comes in. No problem sending you all the resumes. It's easy enough to export and send to you. And we'll keep you updated as the process moves along.
Oh, sorry, Gil.
Sorry.
My only concern with that was, every profession kind of has their prime time of when it's ideal to hire someone. Does it make sense to wait until it's the optimal time to put it out, or do we try now?
I think we should try now, but I don't want to mislead you that my expectations are high that you're going to find a candidate now. But we might find somebody that we're comfortable with. We might have to find somebody that we hire on an interim basis. We're going to see let's see what the candidates bring us. And if we feel there's no qualified candidates in the mix, we're not going to bring them to you. We're not going to bring a candidate that does not meet the highest standards. We're going to come to you with an alternate plan to fill the void for a period of time so that we can get the optimal candidate, which is typically advertising in the spring, closer to the end of the school year timeframe. So yes, you're correct on that there is an optimal time, and it's not now. But you never know. You might find somebody that wants to change or had a situation where they had to step down from a higher level position for a very good reason, and then wants to go back into it. So let's see what the candidate pool brings us.
What can we expect? Staying updated in the process you mentioned. So kind of stick to what is laid out. We get the resumes. Do we find out how many candidates made it to that?
So we do give the board before they get the final candidates or candidate, we give a kind of an advisory summary of the process. So how many people we got resumes on? How many were not qualified at all? How many did we screen out? How many did we move to committee? How many did the committee move forward to the next level and so forth? So we give you that analysis so you can see kind of where we started and where we ended up. So we do provide that to the board.
So thank you. It's not that we just meet the final candidate and here's the person. So that's how I read that. And it seems like
I want to comment about the 1, 3, 5 people. Listen, I've been doing this you guys have been doing it longer than me, but we've been doing this a long time. And I've worked for different boards throughout my career, and I've had boards tell me, we want you to bring 3 or 5 or 6 or whatever it is, top candidates. I don't want to play games with people. I only want the most highly qualified group of candidates. And if all 3 of them come across the board that they're all highly qualified, you'll see 3. If there's 2, there'll be 2. And if I only have confidence in one person I think is the best person that's fit for what this team is, I'll give you the 1. But I don't want to whittle it down and just say, take this or else. I mean, that's not what this is about. The reality is that every one of us here is dependent upon that person slipping in to fill those big shoes and take over and be a cog in the wheel, for lack of a better term, and drive it. So it's important for us, especially at this level, to be sure we're getting a person that's going to be able to step up and do the job. All right. So I don't want to be in that position. And, when I hear stuff like that, I cringe sometimes because, then it becomes like a game. We start setting up things that don't make sense and not a person that I'm comfortable working with. Not, that person's going to work with me every day, and not just me, but the team. Many times we don't work together for a couple of days at a clip. That's realistic at central office because you're out in the field doing, meeting with teachers, meeting with the administrators. So this is important that this person fits in and brings to the table a set of skills that we need here. So it's important for that to happen. And like I said before, there's consensus building, there's stakeholders involved. It's important for us to be able to give you all the statistics too. There was, 175 applications. Of the 175, probably 35 or 40% of them were not even qualified, and they don't even have the certification. Because people just start clicking away. With one of the digital age problems that's been introduced is you could put your resume in any way you want now. All you do is go through the list and start clicking away inside of these products, you know what I mean? And now you're getting someone who has no certification as an administrator in there. But that's HR's responsibility. They
You
need
get
to
people
create all
with no
the
teaching
statistics.
certifications applying, you get people with nothing applying.
Sure.
So we weed those out, obviously, we're not gonna put them to any committee because they're not qualified right off the bat. But we will provide detailed summary of that. And final recommendations.
So, I'm okay with the way Joe Garcia wants to do it. I don't know, but we volunteer enough time here? Does anybody have the time to even be on the committee and what's that time commitment? I wouldn't. I've run enough time.
I just wanted to make sure we have an active role in choosing an
Absolutely.
assistant superintendent. So in the, I don't know, screenshot or whatever that is, it's words and a lot of white space. So you filled in a lot of the white space. It's clear we're going to have a pretty active role in this, even if it's not sitting here for 6 hours a day for a couple of days. And I'm not looking to volunteer for that either. So thank you for the clarification. It's all new to me, so I appreciate it.
I just want to make sure that we have a choice at the end.
And that's why I opened it up, if people want to have a choice.
Make sure we have a choice and we're just not, here, meet Bob, he's the guy, I'd like to have.
I think again, when you
If
get.
you don't feel Bob's the guy, then
Well,
obviously the board's gonna speak up and say,
Okay.
Bob's not the guy. We feel Bob.
You're gonna interview that candidate, you're gonna
Yeah.
decide whether you like the candidate or not. If you're not comfortable with the candidate, you're gonna, when ask candidate step
You're gonna
outside,
direct
you're
me
gonna
to go
inform
back
us that
out.
you're just not comfortable with this candidate, and we're gonna go back to the drawing board.
I would put confidence in the fact that, just generally speaking, when you think about something like this, if you're hiring someone for a position, you're not gonna want someone who's gonna dog the job, right? You're gonna want someone who's going to shine. So, it's in their best interest, everyone has said.
All of our best interests.
Right, to have the best person, because you don't want to be carrying the order for that other person. So I would hope that obviously when we get someone at the end, that they come to the board, 9.9 times out of 10, we're probably gonna hopefully be in agreement, because I think hopefully central administration understands where we're coming from, our view of what we also expect as a board, and we're all in alignment, so that hopefully it's like a nice smooth process and we just able to put our stamp of approval. But that's just like philosophically how we think about it. Nobody's gonna want to put someone in there who is absolutely not qualified and not good for planning.
And there'll be a number of people, listen, my reputation precedes me. There'll be a number of people that will not apply because of me, in the sense that they know what the expectations are. Everybody works here at 1,000% that works on this central office. You're gonna do what I ask you to do, or else you're not gonna be here. And if you don't make me shine, and in essence, the board shine, that's gonna be a problem. So you won't be here, and I have no problem cutting people loose. That's not an issue for me.
Good? Are we good?
Yep.
Thank you. Number 5, response time to Board of Education questions request.
I'm gonna jump in first before you.
Yeah,
do this,
please.
If I could, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd ask you to table this at this point in time, and I think that tonight we're able to clear the decks as far as, and I know that there's a mechanism that's in
I had the
place for
same thought.
registering these. I think, obviously, the board can bring back any item they want at all, but I think we're going back to ground zero at this point in time as far as the majors. There'll always be concerns, questions, et cetera. The expectation from board members, from the superintendent of schools, and any of my team members that I charge with responding, is 24 to 48 hours. If it needs research, et cetera, I need to give you a timeline and say, I expect to get back to you, and you'll hear back from us at this point in time. All right, so if I have to pull in, like today I met with principals about a topic, and obviously everybody's schedules needed to mesh. It took me 5 days to get them in the room with me. But at the same time, the level of communication needs to increase. And I think that you'll see that now that we're going back to leveling the field inside of all these requests that people have, that, listen, point and click stuff's real easy for me. You know what I mean? And I can get it back. And you saw today, obviously I wanted to get a bunch of stuff out. And we've been involved with a lot of things since the beginning of the school year that has really consumed the team. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying that we can do a better job, and I think that you'll see that, and it'll be indicative of that moving forward. So I'd ask you to table the item at this point in time and not get into it, and that's up to the board to decide. But I put that out there at this point, and I'm glad that these are all on here at this point in time. So let's just clear the decks on this thing and move forward.
I had the same thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything that we want to cover is being covered tonight. I also, as everyone knows, been working on the SharePoint site along with the list. Was working on Power Automate functionality through the Microsoft products. I know Dr. Selena's been liking some of the alerts, and I'm testing things through it. So hopefully, as the board president, I'm able to also help manage the process to a certain extent and find efficiency. So we'll test it out, see if that helps.
And if it's a quick question, anything like that, I all of my closings are standard, as you can see. They're boilerplate, and I don't mean that in a negative way. They're sincere. If you have a question, pick up the phone and call. All right. If it's something, unless of course it's a global concern, which would involve all other people. All right. My phone's on. I'm here. Usually on average, no less than 6 days a week. So please just pick up the phone and give me a ring, because I can probably clarify it for you in 2 seconds. And then as opposed to, writing and emails and stuff like that. But if you feel it's for the betterment of the group, that's fine. Put it in an email. But some of this stuff is really like, stuff that we can answer really quickly, and you don't need 24, 48 hours. I can give you an hour answer. So please, I suggest that you consider that. That's up to you to decide. In the end, it's not for me to decide. Thank you for your consideration.
Good on that one? Okay, so moving on to 6, staffing. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, so this came up, I know a parent and there were a lot of girls at the flag football team meeting. It seems like it's way too many for a coach, when you're talking over 30. Is there a way to, how does the district determine when an assistant coach or an ed a coach, how do we do that?
So I don't do that, first of all.
Well,
I
yeah.
take the recommendation of the athletic director. So in that specific season, the following sports are available. So first of all, interest meetings, there's lots of interest meetings that we have at the high school level, right? Because one, I can get to hang out with my girlfriends or my guy friends to go and hang out and listen to what they say. But meanwhile, these are the list of sports during that specific season that our students can attend. Softball, girls lacrosse, girls track and field, girls flag football, and unified basketball. So there are within inside of there, remember, we're not a large school district, so we don't have, so when we get these meetings where something's new, exciting, et cetera, people may come running down. But ultimately, we find that many of our families and many of our students, male and female alike, are on a track. They've started, this is something that's newer, that's been attracting a similar group of kids. But there's competition amongst all these things here. So we really need to see in the end kind of what happens. So when we take a look at these things, and plus I also asked the athletic director, if finances were to be available to do this, all right, what would your priority order be for assistant coaches? Because not every sport has assistant coaches that are inside of our school district today. All right, there were always things that people were looking at. And yes, it would always be better to have more adults available in order to help provide specialty areas, et cetera. So the idea is that, when I spoke with Mr. Burke about this when this first came to attention, I said this, and what do you think about this? He goes, well, obviously I'll advocate for anything I can expand my programs, Ed, and I said, okay. I said, now that you said that, I said, it wasn't something that was explored before. Where are we today as far as what you think? And he said to me, he said, well, and he highlighted the sheet of paper, which is in front of me, which is basically all the teams that I offer at the high school. He said to me, he goes, I have concern about, obviously, this competition amongst this group here, and it's only a select group of people. He goes, can I come back to you? He goes, if I think it's going to be something that and of course he can, and that's with every administrator. If there's something that we need to do, augment the program, we need to consider it at that time, but it needs to be motivated by participation. So of those 40 people, if only 25 show up or 24 show up, we have cuts in all different teams, anywhere from 6th, 7th grade through 12th grade. We hope that everybody be able to find something in an area that they're in. There's more reliability inside of the other ones in the sense of that they're on track already. So I don't see somebody saying, I'm no longer going to play lacrosse anymore, so I can play flag football. So I think we should see where the cards fall prior to we get involved with, and the idea also is we already know that more children that are involved inside of extracurricular and interscholastic sports, the better it is for the community and less trouble people find themselves into with idle time. So we want as many kids as possible to be involved in anything that we offer here, and we want to go to capacity whenever possible, realizing that there are limitations. One of my career positions back in the day when I was middle school and I was in charge of interscholastic sports programs in an East End school district back in the day, they had no cut policy, right? So we had 5 teams for baseball, right? And there was only one that actually did interscholastic, and that would actually play. The other 4 played amongst themselves. And what ended up happening was that it would kill off the excitement because I don't really want to play against these people. I really wanted to be involved with interscholastic sports. So this idea of an A through E team, right, mentality doesn't really cut it. There are going to be people that will continue to go private and they'll do the private exposure. And then they'll get better, they'll come back out for tryouts the following year, and many times they're back on. They earn the position in the team once you get into that. So this is new. We're excited about it. We heard about it. We jumped right on board. At the time, Coach Shaver and Mr. Walker was volunteering. Mr. Walker will be taking over this year, and obviously he has roots inside of a lot of different groups of youth, and he's well liked. Mr. Shaver's basically, still be available to him, but he's not going to be the coach anymore. So I think we should wait and see what happens, and that is the process.
Can you wait and see, like, if on, day one, you have a large number of kids in any sport or extracurricular, the district's able to sort of jump at that point if they need
First
to?
of all, coaches are not coming running down here in the
No,
sense
I
of
mean,
that
but
for
in
all
the
these
sense that
different
it's-
sports, but there are people available that, plus remember, there are other school districts, just through the athletic director, his network, he's able to call up and say, you got anybody good, that didn't get a job that, was involved with football, involved with flag football, et cetera. Remember, flag football is still so new. But at the same time, we have run into these situations before, and we have found very, there is competition. People do listen, we have a very reputable array of interscholastic sports programs here where we have basically called out the best of the best in order to be our coaches. And like I said before, they're time tested, many of them, but we can't cover it all. Well, remember, people have family obligations, et cetera, so things change from time to time, and we have always found the best candidates to step into those shoes. And we provided mentoring for them as well in order for them to be, good coaches, but they're usually experienced when they come to our level.
Thank you.
Board of Education 2025-2026 meeting dates. I know this is yours, Mr. Pasquarello.
So I know they're planning to do the calendar very soon. So I want to make sure I get this in before that happens, and then we have to maybe have revisions. But so I noticed this year the meetings seem to be a little bit all over the place. We have the 4th Thursday of the month, the 3rd Thursday of the month, the 2nd Thursday of the month 3 times, 1st Thursday of the month 2 times, 1st Tuesday of the month, and 2nd Tuesday of the month 3 times. It's kind of all over the place. And in the past, we've had a consistent meeting schedule, so the public knows when to come. Us board members know when to come. The staff knows when they're needed for certain reports and whatnot. And I just feel like we should establish some sort of distinguishable pattern of meetings rather than be, as it looks now, kind of all over the place. Bethpage consistently has their meetings the last Tuesday of the month. Farmingdale meets the 2nd Wednesday of the month. If you look at their calendar, it's very, very routine. Happens the same way every month. Massapequa meets what appears to be the 2nd, 4th Thursday of every month. So just wanted to put it out there to see if you guys are interested in having a more organized meeting.
So maybe I can comment a little bit about how that's designed. So I don't do boilerplate and I don't do continuity in the sense of that regularity. I do what I think is best for the Board of Education and for our hiring practices. So we meet at the end of August, and the reason we meet near the end of August, obviously I need to hire as many people as possible to get them on staff. And yes, I can approve them and ask you to retroactively appoint them effective that date. There's health insurance involved, et cetera, if you're not on by the 1st. And then all of our interscholastic sports start up in the 3rd or 4th week inside of that year. We have learned over the years two things. One, we're pretty much set to open in that last week of the summer. Athletics is up and running. We don't need anything really, so that's why you see that shift to like the third or fourth week. By that point in time, all the teams are formed, et cetera. People used to come down and storm the meeting and say, I can't believe there was cuts, et cetera, et cetera. So this insulates the board. That's one of the things. We also take a look at what are the requirements specifically for holidays. Every year, the holiday schedule changes. So this idea of having continuity, and then look how late Thanksgiving was, and then rolled into that. So we do take that into effect as far as for the families. People coming out to meetings and staff coming out to meetings in front of a holiday or right after a holiday is sometimes very challenging with, their required needs for their kids. So we try to stage that. So I think that the calendar is fluid in the sense of that it's going to happen. And we announce it a year in advance. So people do have good planning time in order to do that. So I think that we should do what we think is best. And if questions about why it's not, the second and fourth Tuesday, other people can do it. I work for Plain Edge, and I work for this Board of Education. And, I share this with you with complete, transparency, for lack of a better term, and honesty, is that, I don't just go out there and look at it. I kind of take a number of those factors into consideration. And we've learned over time, I'll be going on to 15 years that we've been building this calendar at this point in time. So we've got it down pretty much to a science, and I think that it has worked. But that's up to the board to decide.
Yeah, I just feel like families, you say families with holidays, there might not be understanding. I think there'll be understanding if they know it's the second Wednesday of every month, so.
I don't think if the holiday falls where I'm off for the before or after that directly, I don't know if that's actually be accurate.
You take it on a case-by-case basis, like 11.
That's what we do with all the dates. I don't just go through and, like I said before, start off with filling in the second Tuesday, but the calendar this year that I'm going to be bringing out is going to be a little bit different than it was in the past. In the sense of that, everyone's a new one to me, you know what I mean? So for a continuity purpose, I'll do the best I can. But I also, if there's questions about it, the board gets to review that and have that discussion. So the board needs to have that discussion. And also, this year, we'll also be recommending that we'll be adding in an additional holiday. And that will happen on, I think what's the date again?
May 27th.
May 27th, and that will be for Eid. So a number of our neighbors, and we're seeing an increase inside of that. So you'll see the other restriction is that, and that's for students right now at this point in time, that, staff may be here. But the idea behind it, though, is that we're looking to appeal to obviously diverse changing population that's here. That's one of the holiest days for those people that celebrate in that area there. So we'd be recommending that for consideration for the board.
There are two Eid dates, and we're looking to add the most religious one for next year.
Yeah, I'm not looking to have it on that day, but if the holiday falls on the day that we would have a board meeting, you would adjust for that month and move on. So I feel it's good to have a nice set pattern and predictability for everybody involved.
I think if you land on a week that that's where the board meeting has to go, and you typically do them on Thursdays, and it can be a Thursday without affecting the calendar, to feel a little more regular. I think that's not a bad idea, but I don't know that I want to be stuck with it only happens on, in all our jobs, we have something that, it's always this day, and it's like, it's the worst day to have it now this month.
So we have one right now where, so if it was the first or the second, so we have 2 weeks in a row that are off and then we're coming back, we need to push that meeting forward more because we need more prep time for the budget. So like the January meeting, I discussed it briefly, and we need to move that to the 16th because there's no way to actually, because that means I would have to send the agenda out to you.
Right after the break.
Before the break, because we're not open. I'll be here. But the idea behind it though is that, so I think that I will look at what you're asking for. I think the board should consider what we propose, and then the board can do whatever the board wants. That's up to the board to decide. It's the board's calendar, and I'm going to give you the recommended calendar by looking at my colleagues in the sense of that as far as school closures and stuff like that, there'll be similarities, but they're not always identical to each other.
So again, personally for myself, I just don't want to overthink it. It's just one of those things that I think Dr. Selena hit it on the head. We get it a year in advance. Everyone knows the dates, mark it down your calendar. And I kind of live day to day as it is with my schedule. So, you know, with my lifestyle, I gotta think about the board meeting when we start thinking about agenda prep. Also, I mean, if I were to make one recommendation for the calendar, maybe we can not schedule on the Thursday when the football team's in the playoffs. Other than that, I'm fine with how things are. Yeah. So,
By the way,
just the one thing I would say, but
those
other than that-
schedules are not made until the season before.
I'm just messing around.
Yeah, I know. No, trust me. Listen, I would like to be there too. But the idea behind it goes that that's not in our hands.
Right.
I wish it was, but that's in Section 8's hands for our kids and for this board.
So, I don't know if anybody else wants to go with a pattern or a distinguishable
I
pattern.
think we heard that the administration is going to see if they could make it more of a pattern, but
Yeah.
we'll leave them the flexibility for
If we
when they can.
move away from having 6 different types of days of the week, I guess, that would be great. 3, a smaller handful. Yeah, it's not going to be considered.
Are we generally following Thursday?
Yeah, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
One Thursday, third Thursday, second Thursday of the month.
Again, like I just don't want to be overly prescriptive. We give people the calendar, start of the year.
And plus, the other thing is that when we get into concert season, they just want to bring this up. So there are no days left this month between concerts and shows and presentations and parent participation. So this idea is I try to keep it off of those nights. Remember, there are 160 different events that get plugged into that schedule. So I'm trying to do it on nights where there are board members that have children inside the schools and they want to be available to see their kids' activities, et cetera. So I want to make sure that people have that opportunity as well. So there's a lot of factors that get put into this. We'll do our best. We'll present you what we think is the best calendar, and then the board can make a decision. Slide whatever you
We good to move on this one?
Yeah, fine, yeah. We'll see what comes out.
Grades 3 to 8 ELA and math scores discussion. I think this was you, Mr. Pasquale. I should have.
That's okay, yeah, that's okay. So, we had a presentation tonight, which is great, on the commencement test, the Regents test. But I looked historically, that presentation is given to the board, and I didn't see anything on 3 through 8 ELA and math. So I wanted to see if we would do that in the future, and also have a benchmarking against other local districts, so we can see where we're stacking up. I think it's
So I'll answer Mr.
Dr.
Pasquale. So even prior to me coming to Plain Edge, and this is my 9th year, prior to that, there wasn't any discussion on the 3 through 8 testing. One of the reasons is because we have over 50% of our students who opt out. So we're not getting a very clear picture of how the students in Plain Edge are doing. And like I had mentioned before, that's one data point. And we don't judge a student ever on just one data point. We have to get the whole picture of the student. So as I mentioned before, with ELA, for instance, and we have NWEA, we have F&P running records, we have IXL, core phonics from UFly, we have encoding assessments, we have our just formative and summative assessments that the teachers do on, a regular basis. In math, we have NWEA, we have IXL, we have some students with support services who have fast math, key math, we have the Envision program, we have formative and summative assessments, but the reason being is of what, to my knowledge too, prior to me coming here, is that we have a very high opt-out rate. We have been seeing a decline in that.
What's going on? Is it getting better? Are we having less kids?
We
out
have
there?
definitely gotten better, but we still need to improve on that in order to get that clear picture.
How are we gonna get a picture of what's going on with our
So,
kids if we can't
For us to
properly assess them?
For us to do it, I mean, if the board wants us to present that data, which is, public information, it's on the state report cards and everything, we can, but the thing is, I don't necessarily feel that it gives a clear picture of our Plain Edge students. With all the data meetings that the teachers do with the building principals, and they do a whole week of it and different times, they do constant benchmarking. And they then provide the services that our students need. So again, doing that presentation doesn't really give you a clear picture if over 50% of your students are not taking the test.
It's a problem,
district-wise.
Okay. The NWEA results, can we see other districts like Farmingdale, Essex, that's all?
No, that's a benchmarking norming, and that's us throughout the year, seeing how our students, they're growing.
So how do we
So
How
for
do we do a
instance,
proper benchmarking against our quadrant of the county? How do we see how our kids are doing?
It's not done that way. What it
Yeah.
is, it's a percentile. So if I'm a fourth grader and I take the NWA in math, and I am in the 52nd percentile, I'm 52 points, higher than most people, or in the 70th percentile,
Top of the
so.
bell curve almost, yeah.
Correct. Well, it's not even the bell curve, it's norm.
Oh, norm,
It's
okay.
nationally
It's a
norm.
national
Okay.
assessment,
I-
and then that's how we decided what type of supports, whether it's tier 1, 2, 3, or 4 that our students are receiving.
I think the question really is, how do we track like we have regions for the high school students, well, 8th grade and up. So you can track, you're doing well. How do we know our younger kids are doing well before they get to high school and take a regents
So
as a board?
as we were saying, we have our data. As a board, we can look at ways, but the thing is, there's not one clear data point because of the elementary level, there is so many opt-out. If we had all of our students taking the exam, then we can,
I've had a
report
lot
that-
of conversations over the last 2 weeks with a lot of the parents that were vocal 15 years ago, whatever it was,
The opt-out movement.
to try to understand the opt-out movement, because ultimately our curriculum now is geared and pointed to the state testing, right? Because that's what's available, that's what you gotta buy. So a lot of what the opt-out movement was pointing to happened anyway, or was concerned with. So is that, are we missing out by not encouraging? But that's a conversation for
So-
certainly another night.
So one of the other things is when the big opt-out movement occurred, a lot of it was because it was originally tied to teachers' evaluation systems with APPR. But that has now gone away
Right.
from that. And so I do believe that some people now have decided to start taking the exam. We as a district, though, we do.
What do the students care about?
But the parents, it's the,
Parents care about the APPR?
I cared, yeah, of course, if you like your teacher and they.
because
the
your
test didn't go well, you
evaluation
don't want your
was done
teacher to-
on your cohort of students. So, but we do not do that for teachers, and the state went away from that with the 3 through 8 testing. So we have seen an increase in that. Also, again, the Common Core, I think that had that implication, so that could be another reason why they rebranded it and labeled it the Next Generation Learning Standards. So, we would send out a letter every year as a district to tell parents that it is not tied to, the APPR scores, and the benefit of taking the test is to give ourselves another data point for your students to know what services and supports that we need to give them. But that being said,
In your role, is it easier for you to do your job if more kids would take the test?
it gives another data point to see how they're doing, because again, also, when you take a test, some days you have good days, some days you don't feel good, some days you're tired.
There's another piece of that too. As an elementary principal for 13 years, I had 100% of my students take the test all the time. And if you were absent in Florida, I was like calling you and be like, you better get back here because you need to be here for part 2, because everybody took it. And then we went down into the 20% of people not taking it because they didn't need to. When everybody took it, there was really great data. It also used to be a 4 and 8 only assessment. Then they went 3 through 8. So then kids were sitting for 3 days for 2 hours a day. So they have been playing so many games with the testing that it became a problem. The other big piece that we don't do here any longer, and again, with the research-based stuff we're doing in the literacy program, we don't do a lot of test prep. As you saw for Regents, we're doing a lot of test prep. So we're not doing that. So every test we're giving and those data sheets that we have, when you're asking about the data, you don't have access to it, but I can tell you we have kind of, it's almost like a power school for our elementary teachers. It's more robust than any grade book with the amount of information and data that we have in there that we have access to and the teachers have access to. So as a parent, if you want to ask, how is my child doing? You can go in there and you can really get that detailed information. The NWA percentile, exactly how they're doing on the encoding assessments.
And
exactly
we
how
have
they're
that
doing-
information
Correct.
too. So when we are answering parents, and leading back to what Dr. Selena said, when we do answer parents, we try to give as much of a detailed response about what their child is doing in the classroom and what we see and talking to the teachers. So it kind of all ties together.
I'm looking at like as a whole, like how we're doing, you
So
know.
it used to be, yes.
locally, yeah.
The data that we used to get from those 3 through 8 assessments was amazing because what we do for the Regents assessments, we did for the 3 through 8 assessments. I could look at a question on a 4th grade test and say, why didn't our kids do well? And then we could adjust our instruction because we realized that there was a common misconception that kids needed to understand differently. So it
And
used to
sometimes-
be, but we don't know, we can't know because.
Right.
And also now
Rewriting
what's
them.
changing is too, is that when the opt-out movement happened, they did not release any practice questions. And now that they have, it allows the teachers also to know what is going to be on and to then have their instruction throughout the year, have that same common language.
I think it's a question, Doug, that your question is, yeah, how do we know how our kids are doing? I don't know that tonight's the chance to figure out the solution.
Okay.
So if I could just, we could probably connect a little bit too, and it's something I've spent a lot of time on over the last couple of weeks, to just try to understand the question, I guess, or how we got where we are. And look, it's, as a parent, you know how your child's doing because you have info, you have feedback. As a board member, I don't know that there's a way, I don't know how to figure out how all the kids are doing, you know, as a collective, but I don't think we're gonna figure that out tonight.
Something to keep an eye on and,
Listen, if we
hopefully-
have everyone take it.
Yeah.
If we just take it, that'd be great. We'd be happy to put it up there.
Well, I
on the
think
board.
that's, look, I mean, ultimately, I think that's a conversation that our community needs to have again. To see, look,
We've rewritten the letter every year.
We send out the letter.
By the way, we have to actually promote it because
Because we are now
if
on
we
a.
don't, we're on a watch list if you're not. No, I'm serious. From the New York State Education Department. So
We are.
we have to
So
show
next
that
year-
there's movement every year, more people.
We're like on probation this year because we didn't have enough students take it last year.
That's
not good.
If we don't get the numbers up this year, and it is incremental, so it's not like we have to have 90%, but 90% used to be the cutoff. And you'd be like on probation, and after 2 years, you'd have to do this entire process, the
A
review
plan
process.
and a nice big
It's
plan.
huge.
tell
Could there
them
be
to give me a
funding?
call, I'm sure they'll go
Could there
away.
be funding issues because of that, right? Because the
Yes,
state wants to
yes,
know,
Yes.
are you
We're
giving it?
required to
Yeah.
give it, and we're required to,
We have to
enforce it
demonstrate
to
that
the
we have
best of our
promoted
ability.
taking of the examination.
It's
Because we'll
important,
be
yeah.
on a watch list.
I'm sure, yeah.
I hate to
50%
use the
of
word
your kids
watch.
take-
But
That's what it is.
it is.
Maybe if parents realize
That's a
it's
good-
not tied to teachers,
We send,
women.
It's in the
we
letter.
send out the letter every year.
Or are they reading the letter?
I don't know if they're in the letter.
Well, that gives me an arrow in my quiver to argue against my wife who opts out.
I opt out. I don't even know why I do it. I don't know why I do it.
I told her we should do it, she always said she didn't
And-
want to
It's
do
over
it.
from the teacher.
And another thing is too, they reduced the amount of days in the testing because it was too many.
It was a
days.
5-day cumbersome to now,
Now
as long as they reduce that.
it was 3 days.
It was
Never
three.
five.
5 days, 5 days.
If I could suggest we,
3 days,
keep
it's
it
a lot.
I
And
agree.
that was reduced, right? It's not 3,
It's 2 now.
sorry.
All right, if we can, maybe hopefully run through some of these a little quicker. 2025-26 budget discussion.
I think we had that.
Escrow, this is,
Did Dr. Selena cover that in his comments?
Okay, good. Hold off for, right? Was this what he said, hold off?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, the budget stuff, yeah, so, all right, so I am asking for more documentation this year of the budget, during the budget season. I did ask in my email for itemization of items over 500 or items that have to be asset tagged. Dr. Salini said that,
2,500 and up.
what, the 2,000?
2,000 and up.
2,000?
Yeah.
So I would like the board to, I guess, have consensus on this, that when we go through this, the budget exercises in January, February, March, we get the information, like how they built the budget. We should at least see those assets that are gonna be buying. The list, we've got that in the past, we knew we bought 30 printers and 100 computers and whatnot.
Probably easier.
We've seen that before.
so just speaking from my own perspective, I mean, I understand the reason for the ask. My point to that would be, we have people whose job is to figure out what we need as a district. And we should allow them the discretion to figure that out. We're never, ever gonna always agree on certain things that are purchased or not purchased, but you have to give people the leeway and professional discretion to make those decisions. So I have no interest in receiving any of that information. It's just not something that I find any interest. I mean, you know, they're here to do a job, and I want to entrust them to do their job. So, I mean, that's just my take on it.
I'm gonna have trouble approving if I can't, see more data than what was given last year, the year before. There's a 20-page PowerPoint slide. It's nice, a lot of pictures, what programs we're doing. But there's only 3 slides of that that have actually dollars and cents on it. So 3 slides out of 20 tell me how much money we're spending on things.
I would like to see. I would say maybe.
Well, no, wait a minute, hang on. Can I just comment?
Yeah,
there?
please.
So first of all, the board is given the budget and detail report of what it is, not itemized, not like pencils. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
50
I'm
pencils.
saying 2,000 and up, yeah. 2,000.
Well, so first of all, the industry changes, so I'm gonna let Dr. LaValliant add anything I miss. The industry's changing so rapidly at this point in time that I can't tell you that, we use benchmarks, basically it's like, we know that Chromebooks cost us on average $500 a unit, all right? So he decides what the replacement cycle is gonna be and he puts that into the budget, et cetera. But that stuff's not finalized. We come up with forecasts for replacement on an annual basis, but let him talk a little bit about it,
I
so.
mean, I think each year we give pretty good detail, and we were on the board previously when they presented technology budget for many years. We do let the board know our major initiatives of what we're planning to spend the money on, and we do break down the codes into equipment, contractual, and we highlight the major budget changes so the board can know why budget has gone up a little or so forth. And budget by definition is an estimate. So, you can't always exactly predict everything that you're going to spend every dollar on, or, everything costs $500 these days, by the way. So it's just hard to do that as an exact science. We budget, sometimes we might have a server that dies on us, and we have to replace it. So we would not necessarily specified one server or model that, to Dr. Sneed's point, that would have been outdated by the time we buy it at X number of dollars, but we do incorporate it into our estimates of things that we need to replace. For each year, we replace projectors as they fail, different technologies that fail. So we budget a number that we feel comfortable with in equipment to replace items as they fail, and then also to account for new things that we don't want to roll out. So it is an estimate. We do look at it very, very carefully. Happy to answer any questions during the budget presentation the board has, but to itemize every exact item, I think would be very difficult, really, because by the time you do it, it is outdated. So I think the way we've done it has been pretty transparent and pretty open, but again, I'm open to,
That's okay, you're showing me the differences from year to year.
Yes, I'll show you differences from year to year.
That's good.
Major drivers, we print out, if I'm gonna roll out 2 grades, K1 and 2 Chromebooks, for example, and I show you that in the presentation, for example, in equipment. So we do try to do that in the staffing presentations, which constitutes a good portion of the budget. We also show you any new positions that we're asking for this year, and we'll put that out by level so that the board is aware that we're adding 2 new elementary teachers this year. We go through the staffing and enrollment presentation along with the staffing changes, so you are aware of the changes and the dollars associated with that. So
I'm just looking at the presentation.
Yeah.
You have last year, technology and planners, new computer science program, K-12, block coding, drone challenges, teamwork, I guess, like, what's the cost associated with these things? It's.
Well, there's varied costs. There's contractual costs, there's ongoing training, there's
How do we?
technology costs, and those are broken out in the budget. We have a lot of subscriptions that are in the budget, so we account for those in the budget to various things like Power School, WinCap, and the list. There's a lot of them. We review them every year. So
I just like a better breakdown here. We have this other page here, technology and planners, expand and support districts' STEAM and robotics initiatives. So we have augmented reality, robotics,
well, the actual
3D printers.
budget report, which I believe the board, so we present obviously in the committee and the board, and we give summary data there, but the actual budget that's given by Mr. Peraza to the board does have more detail in it in terms of exactly, how many dollars are going to certain things. So I think you'll see some of that in the budget reports that you get from Mr. Peraza, but we're always open, happy to answer any questions the board has during the presentation process.
I'm hoping it has a level of detail, not just the budget line, but The budget line is great to look at, but to see what's being spent on that budget line, I would like a greater level of detail. I was gonna say, Mr. Pasquarello, I think maybe why don't we see what is provided and your, what you were trying to accomplish, what your goal is with the information, and see if we can get there with what is provided, and then revisit the conversation if there is more detail and, that can help you exercise your role.
Yeah, I would agree with what Mr. Morrison said. I think, before each board meeting, right, we get the materials. If there's a specific question, we can ask for it. Also, I think we need to be mindful of not wasting people's time, again, because we are empowering them to do a job. We should be able to trust them to do that job. And I don't think we should become auditors. We have auditors that check those things.
We're putting our name to the $100 million.
I don't disagree with that, but I think there, again, are we the auditors or are we the board that is supposed to provide just generic oversight? If we need specific information about something particularly that we think we need to do our job, then okay, let's ask for it and let's be reasonable about it. I just don't want to be prescriptive right from the onset that we need everything that's over $2,000 or anything over $500. Just seems like, we're not utilizing their time in the best way possible. That's, again, just my opinion. So I just want to be mindful of that because they have the thing that they need to focus on the most, which is to provide our kids with a high quality education and to empower them to have the ability to spend the money where they think that it's going to yield the best results. So, to then have them run reports for us. I just don't see, I don't find the utility in that.
I just want to be comfortable with the budget. So this year, we're giving the district $2.4 million to buy technology. We'll see what it is next year, but I'd like to be comfortable knowing what is in that, why do we have to buy more? We bought $2.4 million this year of services and equipment. Why do we have to buy it again next year? Why do we replace it? So I just want a little more information. I don't think the presentations show as much detail as I would like. So, and there's only 3 out of 20 pages of this presentation that have dollar figures on it. So I would like to see more. I think the point too is that the presentation as the board, my understanding is that we will get more information than is presented. Like I said,
those are condensed formats that those presentations are, so I don't want the public to think for 1 second, like you're sharing at this point in time, that that's actually the information that's available to the board. We give the board comprehensive reports that come from the business department that include what the dollar figures are for, et cetera. So they're not done in that summary format that you see there. We're trying to deliver this in summary format, so I think it's clear to differentiate between summary format and an itemized format in the sense of that, you have much more information available as you know.
So why don't we see if we can get to where you feel comfortable with the information that's provided, and we can always revisit it. And if you want to dive a little more deeply, into something in particular. If it's not adequate, I'm going to speak up about it. Just so there's no surprises. Come February, March, if I'm not comfortable with something, I need more information. I'm going to be asking for it. So
we know.
Yeah. Okay. Now you know, right? There's no surprises. Yeah. So if I'm not comfortable with it, I want to know more about that specific line. There's a lot of discretion in $2.4 million of technology, correct? So I'd like to know the services that we're using and what we're buying, so.
I think you gotta just wait until you have the documents and you have the info and then see if it's enough. If not.
All I have is this presentation, yeah.
Right now, but for next year
That's the
you'll have more.
public's presentation and as well as the board, but remember, all the backup supporting documentation the board has in their hands. And you weren't on the board when you saw that presentation you're reviewing at this point. Now, that's the public-facing one. Right? The board gets many more detailed reports by administrator, by area, et cetera. So I think we should move forward with it, and then we'll, I think concerns be heard. We'll do our best.
Okay, great.
I think we covered the capital projects update.
We did.
Okay. So, not yet. The projects that the public just voted on in May, I think 70% of the public voted in favor of them this May, past May. I guess, where are we at with those, I guess? Are we state approvals?
None.
Architectural renderings?
None.
There's no?
Like I said before, these things take 2 to 3 years to come to flight, so when they approve this stuff, so as it comes to you, I'll share it with the board and give you the information. That won't be an issue whatsoever.
Because we're like 6 months in. Still nothing with.
We're still working on 3 years to go.
Okay.
But I will keep an active live update on a monthly basis with the board of all active projects, or those that are coming close to fruition at this point in time. We obviously want to get in the queue right now. The queue is at 26 weeks up in New York State, but they still need to be designed. We have to work with the staff, we have to work with the teachers in order to get these things built out the way we want them to. So it's important for us to understand the process. You're talking when typically inside of any of these projects, unless they're specifically like, a rip out, replace kind of item as opposed to a building, et cetera, like that, there are timelines associated with that. But remember, with 52 weeks in the year, and the reality is that the state only has 2 people working on these things, the list grows obviously every year. And then the money becomes available and everybody wants it done in the 2 months of the summer. So we'll continue to work with the architects and bring forward you more information as it becomes available. Absolutely.
Okay, very good, thanks.
Replacement of district doctor.
Yeah, so with the whole vaccination situation, one of the things I think affected Plain Edge students clearly more than some other district students were affected is our district doctor. I think I know that the district doctor is a big part of the decision making and the unpacking of medical questions, obviously, that sent to him. And it also seems this doctor does several schools. And just kind of looking on a high level, it seems like those are some of the schools that have had a different philosophy than I would have liked Plain Edge to take. So the question became, if you have to always treat the process the same, the only way then to maybe have different results and more fair results is to change some of the people. The person you want to change, I think, is the doctor, because because I think we need to. I think it's time for a fresh start and moving forward.
Yeah, I also brought this up too in our email. I don't think he's good for students, so definitely looking to move away from this provider.
So I'm gonna have Dr. Levanger take this one on. He deals with this one.
Just to give you board perspective, so we had a doctor previous to last school year that we dealt with, which he was fine. He did not meet the insurance requirements that were elevated because of the child victim things. And so there's added insurance that vendors are required to have. NICE brought it to our attention. Our legal counsel confirmed that. So we needed to seek another doctor. In conjunction with the business office, we found a COSER, which is a shared service provided by BOCES. The good thing about that is we get 50% or so back in aid on the shared service. Dr. King very highly recommended. I mostly don't get involved in issues on child vaccinations. Most of I deal with the district doctors on human resource issues. And my experience with this doctor has been really excellent in that. Very professional, responsive, weekends, nights, really on his game. He is a 40-year experienced board certified pediatrician with Icon Medical School out of Mount Sinai. So trying to understand exactly what a new doctor would do differently than the existing doctor presented with the same questions. His responsibility is to protect, obviously, the district and to make decisions based on, the law and Department of Health requirements. So
I could give you a little more of an idea.
And just as an aside, I'm not sure we should be having this conversation in public. I think maybe we should consider moving to executive session at a future time or adding it to executive session.
Okay. Well, I guess then maybe that's something we should do at another time. What's the?
Plus, we need to have a district doctor, so Dr. Levanger needs to say that.
Look, I'm not.
We're talking about a person in public session, and I just think.
He's a contractor, right?
Yeah.
Well, yes, but we're making statements about a contractor that in a public forum that I don't think the conversation is appropriate for public forum. That's my opinion.
I could see that. I could see us opening ourselves up for liability if.
I'm not really sure. Yeah, so.
I could see that. just based on my own experience in the private sector. I mean, I don't know.
It's something I've been talking about for a month now, so now we can't talk about it,
I
but
think it's one of those things.
so let's
that-
table it, and we'll do it another time.
Yeah, I think maybe we schedule for like the next board meeting and exec session.
Does this have to be exec? Can we get,
Last thing.
can we get a lawyer?
I'm gonna ask Neil.
I'm
He's
sure
a
Neil will
he's a
advise you that it needs to be in
We'll
executive
find out what
session.
Neil says.
You're not talking about a firm, you're talking about an individual.
Right, that's what I mean, and like
That's the
thinking about it, I
differentiator.
could, there's reputational.
It's not like
risk there.
Northwell.
I can say, I mean,
He has an outstanding reputation, I will tell you.
but I'm saying, like,
We'll talk more about that in exec.
yeah, I agree. I think we should consult with Neil. I agree.
Yeah, talk to Neil. I trust Neil, so Neil will
Yeah.
know.
Okay, so, let's move on to that.
Public and exec, yeah.
Section 8, old business regionalization update. Mike, did you have anything you want to speak to on that, or?
Sure, I can just touch briefly. The Board of Regents meets next Monday. It has been announced that they are going to be making what they call non-substantial changes to the emergency rules. The language, and I went on the NICE website a little earlier, and they haven't left their documentation up. We don't exactly know what the language is going to say. They've mentioned, and the governor's mentioned, that something may be optional, whether the planning process, whether that's the actual implementation of the regionalization itself. I know that we are still pursuing the Article 78 proceedings, challenging the administrative process that the state pursued in making the emergency rule. But I think at this point it's also kind of a wait and see what the new language says when the Regents adopts it next week. It's just a reminder that as of December, the rule becomes permanent and has the force of law. It's no longer able to be phased out.
Yeah, I would just add to that, in terms of the Article 78 proceeding, I don't know if it was mentioned, but the 19 school districts that joined that proceeding, so obviously that raised the cost significantly to Plain Edge. In addition to that, in terms of the opt-out of the planning portion, I think specifically this strengthen needs tool, which frankly, the state, I think, has a lot of that information ready at their fingertips. That was extended to, I think, January. That being said, I think we already had responded to that.
We made the initial deadline, which was November 1st.
Yeah. So, there's debate whether we should opt out or opt in to that strengthened needs tool assessment. And I think, actually speaking to Mike about it, just one-on-one, one of the things that he mentioned that I thought was actually a good approach is you're kind of covering yourself here by protecting your rights through the Article 78, but also you're involved in the process. You possibly do not want to be not involved in the planning process. So kind of maybe the best of both worlds, although there is a reason to opt out. An argument can be made for that, but since we already responded, it is what it is, and
I think
move forward.
I think that if you, I think it's important to push your rights wherever you can, and that's court, obviously, but it's also probably in that planning. Because if you could only opt out of the planning, but you're stuck with the results,
right?
You had no voice in what the results are. You may end up with a very small group of districts that are the most pro-regionalization coming out with their plan and subjecting Plain Edge to it. And that's my thought on that, is
That's
that
pretty scary. Yeah.
without opting out on both sides, it's not really an opt-out.
And that was my opinion. Also, at this point, just trying to do everything we can to make sure we protect students in Plain Edge. And if that means pursuing Article 78, while participating in the planning process, to make sure we have a seat at that table and a voice in that process. So we don't be considered. Again, until we see what the actual language says next week.
I would agree with that. Anyone else have anything they want to speak to about that? No? Okay. Moving on to the next item, which is related to that, which is I had circulated to the board a draft of a letter that I said regarding the district superintendent language that they had put out in the New York State Register October 23rd, 2024. In there, it's just talking about generally the friction that we can expect and some of the issues are concerned about the lack of clarity in terms of how the relationship would work between what they term as the district superintendent, which is basically the closest superintendent for Nassau, and how that would work with the component district, which is Plain Edge, Dr. Selena, and the rights and their ability to compel or enforce mandatory compliance with certain things. It's not clear, so obviously it's raising questions to that. So as long as I have the board's consensus with the draft letter to the district, to NICEAD regarding district superintendents, I'd like to move forward with that. Do I have consensus to?
I'm good with that.
Please, somebody else.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to informational reports. Are there any questions on the informational reports? No? Okay. Moving on, opportunity for public comment. We request that you keep it to 2 minutes, state your name, and address the board president.
Good evening, everyone. Craig Fuchs, President, Plainage Federation of Teachers. All right, so I'll try to be very brief. Just to point to the lawsuit that we're involved in. I don't know if you saw this, but I got this from Linda Person, who's the president of NICEAD. She sent an email today updating all presidents across the state about a statement that one of the governor's aides made the other day, posted in the New York Post. And this was the statement: as we craft the upcoming executive budget, the governor believes we should avoid proposals that would negatively impact school budgets, such as eliminating the hold harmless provision of the foundation aid formula covering such reductions. The statement from Hochul's office said. So for those who don't know, the hold harmless basically says that regardless of what changes they make to the foundation aid formula, you can't lose money. So I know there was great concern about possibly not participating in the regionalization, that the governor would look to punish school districts that didn't. And I'm happy to hear and read here that she's not going to do that. She realizes that literally one of the most powerful unions in New York State United Teachers, which is a parent organization of the PFD, would crucify her if she took money away from kids. So I'm glad to see that she is making these types of statements. She also wants to get reelected, and she also, of course, wants the support of the teachers union in New York State. So again, I realize that it won't cost the district much money. I appreciate the back and forth that we've had, Mr. Bayrudi. But I don't see, and when I say I mean the officers of and the elected leaders of the PFD, don't see a purpose to this. And even more so, I understand that if 19, I think you said 19 districts signed on.
Yes,
19. There's 124 districts on Long Island. So if you look at it and go, well, why isn't everyone signing on? I think there's a reason for that. And I've spoken to a lot of presidents who have told me the boards of ed actually refused to entertain that motion. So I want to go on with better news though. Sorry, I wrote my thoughts down really quick. First off, congratulations to Ms. Honeyman on her well-deserved retirement after a very long and distinguished career in education. I've had the privilege of working with Ms. Honeyman on many, many things, and she's a consummate professional, always putting the kids first. And on behalf of the 350 people that our union represents here in Plain Edge, I wish you nothing but the best of health and happiness in retirement. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Next, I want to welcome Ms. Versace to the Board of Education. Congratulations on your appointment. I look forward to hearing you as part of the Board of Ed. And as I did in the spring, I would encourage you to work very well with our superintendent and his staff. They have to combine between all our assistant superintendents. They have well over a century of knowledge in the functioning of public education. They know what they're doing. The teachers support them. I know that we're very confident, especially in Dr. Selena, Dr. Valiant, and Dr. DiPaola, Ms. Honeyman as well. And we know that.
Peter!
Oh, and Mr. Carrazzo!
Vote of no confidence.
Oh, no confidence. Well, we don't really deal that much with the money. We do most of instruction, so.
Nice
Really?
Oh, boy.
Contract, right?
I'm a big trouble
Contract
now.
numbers.
I'm gonna help you looking for anything tomorrow.
I'm in trouble.
Supplies.
One or two other things really quick. Next week, it wasn't mentioned tonight, so I want to mention it. Next week, Thursday at 6 o'clock, we have the Season of Lights event at the Brian Moore Center. As we have done in the past 4 or 5 years that our union has been involved, we'll be giving away little toys to the boys and girls who attend. We purchased some really cool, so we try to change it up every year. So I think the kids are really gonna like. I've been asking elementary teachers across the district, what do the kids like? So I think they're really gonna like the giveaway this year. I don't wanna ruin it. Have to come to the Season of Light event. And finally, like I said, on behalf of our entire union, I wanna wish the Board of Ed, administrators, and especially Mr. Peraza, a very happy and healthy holiday season. Thank you so much.
Hi, Stephanie Garcia. I guess I just kind of want to reiterate what my husband said, that although our situation has somewhat resolved, it was a nightmare, quite honestly. And if there is anything you can do for these other families that are still dealing with this nightmare, please do so. We still are dealing with it with our youngest, and it's partially fixed, but it's not fixed, and we need it fixed. And if there is anything that you could do for these families, offer them any sort of support, will be greatly appreciated by them, because we felt left on our own. We were left there to survive and figure out what was going on, and it really felt like nobody cared on that end. We got a lot of support from people behind us, but the people that were holding us back, it was there. And if there's anything that you could do for these families, please, 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 I am begging you to do it for them, because there are a lot of people still suffering from it. And if you could do anything, I'm begging you.
Anyone else? Okay, motion to adjourn. Second. Last row, all in favor?
All in favor, motion carried.